by making Cavill this guy again. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerdman, and today I'm here with Ashley, the widow, and we're here to discuss. It's time for the spoiler discussion of the Batman, and we will also be discussing, and I don't know where Ashley stands on this. Actually, I think I do. I might know where she stands on this, but we'll also be discussing the Riddler from the Batman versus Joker from TDK. Now, I was going to make this like a hot take that the Riddler is better than the Joker, but I actually want to discuss it because I don't feel like I have some idea where I stand on it, but I also want to just discuss it because somebody else might be able to convince me that I'm completely Looney Tunes for even considering them on the same level. We'll be talking about the Batman in relation to other Batman movies. It's actually gone up in my estimation now, so spoilers to how I feel. I think it's a brilliant movie. It's gone up because I had Batman Returns over it, and now I've put the Batman over Batman Returns. It's a better movie. But yeah.
So what number is it on your list then? Because I can't remember where Batman Returns was. So where does it rank in the list?
So that's a good question. I think because I added Justice League, I added Joker. So Joker was number 1. TDK was number 2. Batman Begins. And then I think now it's the Batman. So yeah, I think Batman like number 4. I think Joker might even be a bit high though. I'm like maybe TDK. I don't know. I love all of those top movies, so it's just it's a kind of Sophie's choice for me. And there's Zack Snyder's Justice League is quite high, even though I know a lot of people don't agree with me. But yeah, where do we start with the Batman? I mean, what were your impressions coming out of it? How many times have you seen it? I've seen it now 3 times.
I've only seen it once.
Oh, you've only seen it once.
Yeah, you're doing the thing that you make fun of me for now. You see that? You see when the shoe's on the other foot?
I'm doing it all for Unzo. I'm taking every single friend of mine.
The other foot. This guy.
I'm taking every single friend of mine to watch the Batman so that they might take other friends, or they might because I need to get, like, it's Onzo. Onzo's done this. This is purely, I'm doing it like to get at Onzo. Make sure this goes over the $1 billion mark. I'll do my part anyway.
I'm thinking about going to see it on Wednesday because my friend, she's going to be off that day, and we're supposed to do something, and she said something about going to see it. So, and she loves. I mean, she's a comic book kind of gal, so she likes stuff like that, and she hasn't had a chance to see it, and we go to a lot of movies together. So I'll probably be going with her on Wednesday to see it, if things work out. If not, we might just be hanging out at my house. I don't know, but we might be going Wednesday. This depends on the plan. Yeah, but I do plan on seeing it again in theaters, like.
But I just think it's one of those movies. I mean, I have to say, like, it improves because I'll tell you this is how it went for me. The first time I saw it, I was a little bit three times. No. Hi there. Anzo. Yeah, sure. But I went to see it, and the first time I was like a little bit confused by it. I didn't know how I felt about it. I just knew that I felt like it deserved another try. My main issues with it were that I didn't feel like it had enough Batman stuff in it. It didn't have the gadgets. It didn't have like it in the detective sense. It had the Batman stuff, but in the action scene sense, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I was like, this isn't like he's just walking up to like the iceberg lounge, like
You're all
the
right.
the
Are you frozen or
penguins.
am I? What's happening?
Am I frozen?
Is he frozen?
Am I frozen? I don't think I'm frozen.
I'm not frozen, am I? You were there for a second.
Oh, okay.
You
But yeah,
said that
no,
you didn't like the Batman walking up, and you heard my point on that, my take, like that. I actually like that. I like that he was learning. He's this, even though it's a year two Batman, he's still figuring out the best approach. And I like the first time he goes to the door. Of course, they don't want to let him in. The other twin comes. He, fights them. He goes in. Second time, I liked it because he goes in as Bruce Wayne. Third time,
right.
he sneaks his way in. So it was like he uses 3 different methods to get into that club. And I thought that it was very smart and I really liked it. I know a lot of people's like, Batman doesn't walk, but this Batman does. I believe he does because he's still figuring out the best approach
Right.
to access these places.
Yeah, I that's what I'm saying. On second viewing, you kind of get that. You get it more and more. I see what Matt Reeves is doing here. I get like at first I didn't understand the Bruce Wayne persona. I was like, dude, he's just playing like Batman the whole time. Like, even when he's Bruce Wayne, he's Batman, and like he's got the same. But actually, there is a slight difference in the cadence of his voice when he's Bruce Wayne. There's a slight difference, but it's not like as big a difference as like Keaton or as or even Bale. But there is like the difference there.
Superwise's comment, like I just want to let you see that Superwise comments. Apparently, that's breaking news, and since we're talking about the Batman, I just wanted you to see that. I know that
wow, that's interesting. So her in Bloodhaven, that's cool.
Yes.
We're gonna be doing a character breakdown after, but yeah, no, that's great. But like like those kind of little small sorry, I was talking about the Batman voice. So what I realized is like on the second or the third, even like just this third viewing, is like this is a Batman who, like, he doesn't know who killed his parents, like, and he is like, I think he's so numbed by what happened because he's actually trained himself to become so numb to feeling anything for others, because he doesn't ever want to care about anyone as much as he cared about his parents and be devastated again like that. So, even Alfred, he keeps Alfred at a distance because he doesn't want to feel for Alfred, right? And that's why this Bruce Wayne is an emo. It's not just done for like, oh, let's just be edgelord and be super dark. I think Matt Reeves has really, really thought about this character. And, I do hope he evolves into a more of a Bruce Wayne persona in later movies. But I completely get it in this movie. He's like, and it's perfect for the theme of the movie that he is just vengeance. Like throughout this movie, he is just simply vengeance until that end when it gets reflected back at him and he sees, look, what I've actually inadvertently been inspiring is like these fucking lunatics who also come from broken, traumatic situations. And they're now, like, I think the guy, I'm going to let you speak about all of this after, but I think the guy right at the end of the movie, like it's in the third act where it's a bunch of Riddlers have come and they're shooting up like these citizens who are like running away from the flood. And there's this guy that he ends up pummeling. And that was the same guy that was at the funeral who was saying, like, my daughter died. Somebody, I think his daughter died. She was killed from some kind of like, crime or something. And he was saying, all these rich people, they deserve what they get and they deserve to be killed. And right at the end of the movie, he's there and he's one of the Riddler's kind of crew. And, he gets unmasked and they ask him, what am I? And he says, I'm vengeance. So Batman sees like exactly what he's inspired, like by just being this, taking out his trauma and anger on the city and becoming this symbol, right? And this is what he's inspired in the end. He's inspired the Riddler. He's inspired all of these kind of lunatics to come out and do this. And that's where he's like, oh, I've got to stop. This whole journey is of him like finding a way to care again, finding a way to, finding his humanity again, essentially, and not just being like this one-sided kind of guided missile towards vengeance, towards just like. So what do you think of that? Like in terms of, I've thought about this a lot. So
I thought about it a lot too. And I feel like I got most of it the first time, and I can't wait to see it again. And like I've said before, I really enjoyed the film. I think that Robert Pattinson is the best Batman that we've seen.
Wow,
his
that's
acting
an argument.
performance is top notch. Like I feel like most of my issues with this film are nitpicks, really, really nitpicks. But again, I'm curious because where the first 2 hours of it, and I know we've kind of talked about this before, the first 2 hours didn't drag for me. The third act, that's where most of my issues come from. But I'm curious, am I going to feel the same way on that rewatch? Does this film have that rewatchability? And I'm going to keep asking that question until I get that rewatch and know, because you're sitting there in this film for 3 hours.
I'm not going to say because
I
of
know
my
how
experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to say because of my experiences, like it, but to me, it's rewatchable. But like, and it's.
I mean, but it's a good question for me to ask you that because you have seen it now 3 times. So to me, like your opinion does hold weight, and Dot feels that it does. A lot of people that I know that have seen it, it does.
I feel
have
you
that
get more out of it. That's the thing. There's more in there to get out of it on second viewing, and you notice some things that like you go, oh wow, that's like actually pretty smart.
I liked with all the reveals in the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
That without all the reveals in the film, like the biggest one really was the fact that the whole time you think the Riddler is taunting him through this film, and in the Riddler's mind, they're working together. They're a team, and in his mind, he was inspired by Batman, and that he thinks that they're on the same, that they're fighting the same war, that they have the same mission. And I do like some of the things that, when we get into why I think the Joker or the Riddler's better, I'll say my argument there about that. I'm going to save that for that. But I really did like that moment where, Robert Pattinson, the facial acting is just so intense, so believable. That stare, that gaze that this man has is unbelievable. And he's just staring and he's going, Bruce Wayne. And he's saying, and you think,
and he's looking up at the camera. And,
yes. And he's like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, my cover is blown. Like, how am I going to get out of this? Right. He thinks that, and because of what happened, the package being sent to him,
he thinks the jig is up. He thinks, but that's what the Riddler had been doing with everyone. He's been sending everyone a thing to the Batman, but it just happens like he was sending it to Bruce Wayne, and then he has to the Batman.
Yes,
on top of it.
And so like he really thought, oh, he's figured me out. Yeah. I'm one of his victims instead of, no, really, he's going after Bruce Wayne. It's not like the one and the same.
He's a Batman fanboy, and he essentially is this orphan who, who's looking at Bruce Wayne, who's like a kind of famous orphan, who, they're like kind of like mirror images of each other, because he's an actual orphan from poverty and all of this kind of thing. And he sees Bruce Wayne, who's this famous kind of thing who everyone feels sorry for when his parents die, and he's the city kind of mourns with him, and no one cares about him, this orphan in just this random no-name orphan, and he wants to be famous. Like all these serial killers and all these kind of things that do these things, they do it because they in the end want or like school shooters or something like that, they want notoriety. And that's what he wants, essentially.
He wants to be seen because he's been forgotten this whole time. He got lost in the fray of it all. What did you think about possibility, really quickly? I'm sorry. I just want, because you were talking about him, and this is for J-Man too, both of you, obviously. What did you think about like the possibility that the writer, this journalist, was his father, and that's how he became this orphan? Because, it's like...
Yeah, I thought that they were going with that, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. I'm kind of glad that they just left it that he was the orphan, because I think it would have been too pat, actually, because I thought that, that would be a great motivation for the Riddler. Obviously, like it was his dad who was the thing. But like, I think the fact that he was just an orphan who was singing in this choir, and that Thomas Wayne had promised that they were, with this renewal plan, that they were going to fund this choir, and, like their life was going to change. And then Thomas Wayne dies, and then that, he just got forgotten, and he just was like in this orphanage after, and he just becomes fixated with the Wayne family, and he becomes fixated with Bruce Wayne, who was exactly like him, except just rich. But at the same time, he's a fanboy of I just love that, because that is like, it's kind of harks back even to like Batman Forever, even though that's a terrible movie, where the Riddler is obsessed with Bruce Wayne on one side, but he's also obsessed with the Batman on the other. So I kind of like when they have those. Yeah, exactly. I love when they have those through lines. Now, J-Man hates this movie.
No, what a lie! What a terrible lie.
So
I gave it a 4 out of 10. I moved up to a 5 out of 10. Remember, by Nerdman, by my rating system, 5 out of 10 means it's an average movie, because the way I do my rankings. But I got to be a bit of a negative Nancy. I think that if this wasn't Batman, let's say you make up a character, call him whatever you want, the Dark Detective, and it wasn't Batman,
Bobby Booker,
and it was just like a regular guy, everyone would say this is a boring mess. Guaranteed. It's because it's Batman. They're like, oh yeah, it's Batman, it's cool. I mean, honestly, the Riddler wins. Batman doesn't solve anything. They get the wrong route. It's like the Riddler gives himself up. They don't catch him. I'm like, okay. Batman's walking around normal. I'm like, oh, okay, hi. Because if Batman is walking,
so wait a second. What about 7 then? I mean, like seven. The killer gives himself up.
Right, but
everyone's like, killer, that's a masterpiece.
But
because it was part of his plan.
Right, but I don't want someone to outsmart Batman in his first movie as a detective, right? Like it's like he should outsmart them, like that's what Batman does. He's the smartest, or else what am I watching this for? Like
he was pretty smart in the movie, but
he didn't know what that carpet thing was. Like someone told him, "Oh, it's the carpet thing." He's like,
"Okay." That's
like,
great,
he never said anything. He never came up with the solutions, and was Alfred helped him with the cipher.
But J-Man, to that, I thought that was clever. That was the only clue he didn't figure out. And the reason he didn't figure out is because he's such a sheltered rich boy that he would have no idea what this tool that a carpenter uses is, right? So that's the one thing, like out of all of the clever clues that he figured out like almost instantly, his privilege was the one thing that got in the way of him actually figuring out the most central clue, which is, hey,
yeah, but he's got
computers
and
uses this
technology. Kind of... He couldn't have scanned that to find out what it was. Like I don't.
Sure, I get what you're saying.
They're standing. Okay, they're investigating a murder scene in the dark. I'm like, shouldn't you turn the lights on? It's like just silliness. This movie thought it was super important. It's like, oh, this is 2001: A Space Odyssey Batman version. It's like, just investigate the crime. Like And I gotta say something. This is a fundamental error.
So you would have want Batman in the light, like with the lights.
No, I would have wanted Batman to come in after hours to investigate on his own.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Gordon or whatever, Jim Gordon says, okay, come in, investigate, and then he goes by himself and investigates and he picks up stuff and we can kind of follow his thought process while he does it. But I have to say this is very important. Batman needs to be scary within the costume. The final act of Batman becoming the true Batman is putting on the costume. Because prior to that, he makes mistakes. And even in Batman Begins, I think, and in cartoons and in comics, when he's in his first year or whatever it is, he's not wearing the suit. And he's like, they're not scared of me. He goes, they think I'm an idiot. He's like, well, I've got to become a symbol. I've got to do something. I got to be a ninja and like smoke bombs. And he grabs guys from the side and you're like, whoa, where is that? In this movie, when he first appears, the clown face gang laughs at him. I'm like, they're laughing at Batman. Then he beats the crap out of that guy. And after he beats the crap out of the guy, they're like, whoa, this guy's crazy. And they take off. But Batman needs to be scary from the beginning. He needs to be a mystery. People need to know. Some people need to think maybe it's a creature. Is it even a man? I like this idea that nobody knows what Batman is. Like, oh, the Batman. And if there's a bunch of guys standing around saying, oh, screw the Batman, he's nothing. And then the guy turns around and his friend's gone. It's like, where are you? And then it's like he turns around, another guy's gone. It's like, what? Like Batman's grabbing guys and moving them around. He needs to be mysterious. He needs
mysterious.
To be. He needs
the funny thing is, and I want Ashley to get in on this, like to kind of talk to you about it. I'll just say this very quickly. I had the exact same impression. All of the critiques you said were like, you can ask K-Dot, like, were all of the things I was saying about this movie. I was like, why is he walking up to like this bar? Why is there no gadgets in the Batmobile? Why isn't he freaking? Like, I wanted to see a low-tech version of how Batman would be able to freak out these criminals. But on second viewing, I'm like, I still wish there were gadgets in the Batmobile. I still wish it wasn't just a car race. Still wish there were gadgets in the Batmobile. But on second viewing, I think I'll let Ashley even say, what is your retort to the fact that he wasn't like scaring people in the beginning of the movie? Because there was some progression that you said.
Yeah, earlier. I feel that I understand what J-Man's take here about him. He's supposed to be just scaring people, once he's in the suit. But I'd like that they kind of did something different. That here's this Batman who is learning. He's consumed by vengeance. He doesn't completely make the right decisions at times. And I liked, like I said, when he walks up to that club, he's still trying to figure out what is the best approach for me to access this club. How can I get in here, right? And he goes up to the door. Yes, it's a fumble, but he gets in. He punches him. He knocks him out, right? He still gets in there. He surveys what he needs. He sees what he needs to see. He has the conversations that he needs to have. He does strike fear in those people. At first, when they first see him, they're kind of like taken back, like, who are you? Because what we've understood from what Matt Reeves says is he's more of a myth at this point. Like, people don't really know if he exists. So that is a different interpretation, obviously. And then when he gets into the club and then they realize, oh, this guy is no joke. The second time he goes in just as Bruce Wayne under, the guise of like, oh, Falcone had this relationship with my father. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to investigate this way. And then the third time he learns and he understands, you know what? The best way for me to get in here is for me to sneak in, and then he's more effective that way. But I think that each time he gets something out every time he goes into the club. And by the third time, he has all the pieces that he needs to start putting that together.
And to even further your point, there's even a fourth moment where he gets full Batman, and I fucking loved it. Where it's like all this time I've been like asking, why isn't he just like coming down from the sky? Why isn't he like setting off gas bombs? Why isn't he doing all that kind of stuff? And then when the Riddler men are like sat on the, like they're there with their, like about to shoot down at the crowd. And then all you see is like bombs explode, the glass shatters, and then he comes down out, from the rafters. and like lands and like starts beating people up, and then he even figures out like, oh, maybe I should use gas or smoke to like be able to like kind of infiltrate these guys. I think that's it. He's learning on the job. I think next time you're going to see him with those smoke pellets. Look, J-Man.
It's too late. But it's too. What I'm saying is it's too late.
Here's the thing.
I don't think it is.
No, but they've seen him as a man.
If in this next movie he doesn't do all that shit, then I'm totally on the same page with you. Then I'll be like, okay, Matt Reeves just doesn't really get like an aspect of this character that's really, really important.
No, but they know
I
that he's
really
a man
do
now.
think that it was an evolution. You saw that. Yeah, but that's like
we saw the
like
evolution.
The Earth One.
But I think that that's what makes him more fearful is that he is just a man. But
yeah, we saw the evolution, but it's ruined the image of Batman. It's like he knocked on the door, like, oh, it's just a guy in a costume. Okay. Like it should like I like in the first movies where they're like they didn't even know if it was literally a man. Like in '89, they're like it was a giant bat. They're like, I'm telling you, it was a giant bat. Like they literally thought it was some monster, and there was the fear of that. Now it's just like
most people haven't seen him just walk up to guys, right? It's like there's those guys, the street thugs, maybe some other. Not everyone in Gotham has seen. I suppose at the end when he's helping people out of the out of the rubble, maybe that was filmed. That could be a problem. But in general, I think most criminals will not. I mean, you've got a point.
Definitely at the ending of the film, that's the most he's been seen on the news and stuff. Like that's the most he's been seen. But prior to that, we got the memory. He just literally walking up on any old random criminal, and the word is getting passed around on what they saw. Oh, this dude in the back called Vengeance freaking beat me up, and you notice in the film. Some of the criminals aren't really calling him Batman, like Penguin and other people. They're like calling him Vengeance and stuff. Like he's running around with the same Vengeance. He's not calling him Batman, and he's just beating up random people at a time when he can get them. He's trying to get whatever criminal he can get, basically. Because as he said in the beginning of the film, the city is big. I can't be everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think that works to his advantage because the city is so big, and he can't really be everywhere at night.
Can I say
that first 10 minutes of the movie is a fucking masterpiece. J-Man, you cannot tell me you didn't, at least up until he walked up to the guys and started beating them up. Just that first.
Right. Yeah, because they're saying, he's scary and all that. And then he walks up to them and they laugh at him. I'm like, they're laughing at Batman.
True,
then he beats them up,
that was
and then they got scared, but they got scared because he's insane, not because he's a scary individual. They're like, this guy's nuts. We're out of here. I don't think that.
Well, I mean, what Jamie,
you have to think back that there are criminals that when it's night and they're looking, the first few criminals, they're looking down those dark alleys, so they know that he exists. So there are the ones that are fearful of him, and then because where he's still a myth and they don't know if he's real. The ones that where he don't know who this guy is, they're kind of like, who are you? But there are the ones, and you see in the opening of the film, they're looking down those dark alleys. They're looking to see if this Vengeance character is going to come for them because they're out here committing crimes, in the dead of night because they're looking down these dark alleys.
But he didn't. The guy the guys in the convenience store, the guy in the convenience store with the stupid mask, he got away with his crime. And then he looks like, oh, Batman might get me. He's like, well, I guess he didn't get me. I'm just saying, as sitting down as an audience member. Okay, this is the first time we're seeing Batman clearly, and the people are laughing at him. This is not good for audiences. Like when I sat down, watched '89, and sat there, and Batman in full costume.
J-Man, you have to factor in that that intro took place on Halloween night.
I'm just saying, I understand what the movie's going for, and I understand what they're saying. What I'm telling you is that as an audience member, I don't want my hero laughed at in his first appearance on screen in costume. The first appearance of Superman should be, wow, there's Superman. When Batman first appears, like, oh shit, it's Batman, right? Not him walking around and you're like, oh, this guy's an idiot. It's like, this isn't a Van Damme movie where they laugh at him and then he kicks the crap out of them. And you're like, yeah, like Batman should have been immediately for an audience. We'd be like, whoa, shit, here's Batman. Like, it's just very subdued. I
But
understand it's serious and
what
it's
it was
all this.
saying,
That's
I think
fine,
what
but
it
I'm
was
just saying
saying
that's
was,
not like what I want.
I get it. I completely get it. But I think what it was saying was that like only one of them knew who the Batman was, because for most of them they didn't know. It was just this one guy. And again, I had a problem like the first time I saw it with him just walking up there. Like I was like, Batman doesn't walk out the shadows. He's like flies down or he throws some.
Right.
But again.
But we have to remember
I think what you gain,
he was cocky too. He was thinking, I can just walk up on these dudes and they're gonna immediately fear me. Because as he said in the beginning of the movie, he only gets around the city so much at night. Like not everybody really knows about him like that. He's one person. He's really not making that much of an impact.
Okay,
he's making a slight impact. Some people are scared, some people aren't.
Right, but
he's
the
really
first
not getting all
appearance
the
of the
avenues.
hero, they should be scared. Like when let's give it to him. He walks out of the shadows in this one because it's year 2. He doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, so when he walks out, they should have been like, "Oh fuck, it's Batman," and just bolted. And then it's like, yeah, I'm so good, I didn't have to do shit, and they just took off. And then that guy, the other guy's like, "Oh my god, no, please don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me." It's like, I'm not going to kill you, and then walk off or just walk off. Well, instead, he comes in and they laugh at him. I don't understand. This is not good. He came in and they laughed at him. I understand.
I mean, I had less of a problem with that and more of a problem with him working up to the Iceberg Lounge. But I didn't notice how he later on clearly
he evolved.
He clearly used what's it called? Stealth tactics to get in the next time. Like it was literally like stealthed in, and it was very low tech how he did it as well. He just comes in and he's like, he cuts off the electricity and everything, so it's all in the dark, and then does his Batman shit. So I think that the thing, I think you have to kind of weigh up what is gained by this approach, what versus what is lost. So what is lost is like, there's that sense of the coolness of Batman, like
right.
He's just awesome
and we also have to think about it.
But what you get is like more of like this human journey of this character, like this very flawed kind of hero who is out there and he's just fucking angry. Like he's not even like as a symbol, all he wants to do is strike fear. All he wants to do is, in some way, release the tension of that trauma that he felt. Somehow gain control, of that situation that where he felt the most like he had no control when he lost his parents. That's what this Batman is out there doing. He's not out there trying to help people even, or he doesn't really care so much about the victims. He's numbed himself completely, to human what you call it, like
sympathy. Like he's because look at the intro, right? And that's why I like the intro, and then you compare it to the end. When he starts off, he beats up them dudes, right? And then the guy on the ground thinks Batman's about to come and do some crazy shit to him, like, who's this? Like he's scared, and he didn't say nothing, but you look at it like, wow, what this civilian shouldn't be scared of Batman. Only the criminals should be scared. Like Batman's supposed to be, yes, he's only supposed to really strike fear in the criminals, not the civilians. And later in the film,
and you see that he doesn't even try and interact so much with this victim. He's just standing there,
try to show no sympathy,
doesn't give a shit, right? And so his whole mission is just vengeance at this point. And I love the fact that that vengeance is like reflected in all these characters. It's reflected in Riddler. It's reflected in Catwoman, right? So.
Yeah, I understand. Oh, what we lost K-Dots. Oh no, he's back. Yeah, so no, I understand all that. I understand the journey. I understand everything that happens in the movie. I'm just saying, sitting there Batman comes in, they laugh at him. This is the first time we're seeing Batman clearly, and they laugh at him.
You don't like it. I get that.
I mean, you can't fix that. Like, I understand
what is happening. Hey, I feel you on that.
Yeah,
and look, I said this. I said
for anybody. Indiana Jones shouldn't be laughed at, right? Luke Skywalker shouldn't be like when Luke Skywalker's fully Jedi and he goes and he flips. It's like, okay, I'm Luke, and then Jabba laughs at him. I'm like, screw you, Jabba, that's bullshit, right?
But look, I'll say
depends on the character. Though.
I'll say this is what Matt Reeves should have done with this movie. He honestly should have had this movie, have Batman start in January of his first year, and then the first movie takes place in October of his first year. I think this movie would have made more sense if it took place in October his first year, because when he did this story, it was heavily inspired off of year one. Like, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Then do the story around year one. Not you take year one and you mix it with year two. Like, I understand, even in your second year, wherever you're at, you're still learning. But I think the movie would have made more sense if it was year one near the end of his first year.
Yeah, they could.
I was okay with this year too, but I think he really should have just done year one.
But it's. I think what J-Man's just saying in general. It's such a jarring experience to see Batman acting so out of character, for a great deal of this movie, that it kind of does take you out of it. It does, and I swear to you, it took me out of it the first time, and I just on rewatch, I was like, "But you gained so much rich stuff by and so much rich storytelling."
I would have not liked it if he didn't evolve in the movie. Like he was making mistakes and he quickly fixed them. If he wasn't doing none of that in this movie, I went like, "Oh hell no, this ain't Batman. We gotta go."
Yeah, I like the growth.
After you, Widow.
But the second movie, he won't.
No, Widow. I won't. So sorry, because Widow, I cut her off. Oh,
I was just gonna say that I liked the growth aspect here. I like that he was failing. I like that he at times was fumbling, and it was not an origin story, but very much like an origin story in the sense that he's still learning the proper way to do the things that he needs to do effectively. And I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the growth throughout the film, and I loved the detective, aspects, even though at times he dropped the ball, the way that he was constantly observing everything around him. And I loved the fact, I know J-Man talked about earlier about him coming in by himself, and, Jim Gordon just saying, hey, after we leave, you come on in. But I like that element of the two of them being a team, them working together.
Right.
And, in Jim Gordon
was
always
weird. It was kind of Adam West
supporting him. Yeah. Always supporting him. And when everybody was calling him a freak, he was like, "You're gonna bring this freak vigilante in here?" And like how he always, he was like, "No, he's here to help us. We need him." I love that. And then my favorite moment outside of the big flashy car moment was that soft moment when they look at each other and they're like, "I don't trust anybody. I trust you." And I really like that moment between the two of them. I love their chemistry in this film. So I liked the two of them working together as a team.
I think they could have been a team alone, though, is what I'm saying. Like, it's like Commissioner Gordon or whatever. I'm going to keep saying it by accident. Gordon is like, he calls in Batman, and then together they can both look at the scene. But having the other cops there, it is weird, because wouldn't they be like, why is this guy? Like, I understand. The problem is, it's like, I'm siding with the wrong people in this movie. I'm siding with the cops. Like, yeah, why is this guy here? What is going on? And I shouldn't be siding with them. I should always be siding with Batman. I should be like, look, Batman knows what he's doing, guys. Step off. But it's hard to do that when you have a grounded, realistic setting in which you start to think, why are we allowing this guy in here? It's a fine line, and it's jarring.
I think it's because it's Gotham, and it's a broken system, and they, they need all the help that they can get. And he thinks, oh well, this vigilante, this guy, even though, in the bigger scheme of things, from a realistic approach. But it's realistic for film, right? It doesn't make sense, but like I understand why he brought him in, and I can understand why some of them were kind of like, okay, we do need some help here because of all of the corruption and all of the crime everywhere. So that's how I interpret it.
Right, and also
I imagine in my own head canon. Just 1 second. I imagine in my own head canon like that he probably helped them with like some serial killer or some rapist or some, and brought.
Yeah, he's been helping them out.
Brought him in, and like
even though they're reluctant. In his first year, real quick, he was. To be fair, it's a prequel novel, can't really use it, but it's canon and you kind of have to. But he was literally, snitching. He was feeding the cops information about a case and stuff. He wasn't exactly Batman yet, but he was like just sending in information to a cop. It wasn't Gordon, but one cop, and then they used it to solve a case, and Gordon saw it, and boom. But this is what I like about the whole sequence.
It is canon to the film, though.
Right. And,
but you can't use it because they don't. It's not in the film.
It's not explained in the movie.
You can't.
You got to read the book.
You can't expect J-Man. But you can't expect J-Man and general audiences to have known what's in the book.
Yeah, I feel you. I
get it. I get it.
I already read 30 comics a month. I can't read anymore. I already subscribed to 30 comics a month. I can't do anymore.
It also, I was gonna say, this is why I like how they do the Batman and Jim Gordon relationship in this movie, even in the Nolan trilogy. But in this movie here, they make it apparent that the only reason Batman can do what the Batman wants to do, like be around so many police officers and be able to come in and do these investigations and stuff, is solely because of Jim Gordon. If he does not have that good relationship with Jim Gordon, this man would have a harder time operating as Batman at night, being able to come in on these crime scenes, getting information from the police. Because in this film, Jim Gordon's not commissioner, but he is he's heavily respected. Pete, who was his previous partner, that was I think the commissioner or whatever, or whoever he was. He gave Jim a pass for bringing in Batman. And let's be real. In the sequence when he went inside the interrogation room, Gordon's the only reason he didn't go to the hospital and they took off his mask. Gordon prevented that.
But that's
what I like about the movie. Gordon, they show how much Gordon is important to how Batman's going to operate in the future. He needs to have that good relationship with Gordon so he can get some of the police to, kind of look the other way with Batman. Like, he's helping us, but we need to give him the opportunity to operate the way he's going to, because we can trust him too. He's not going to take it that far.
Mm-hmm. For me, what I really enjoyed about the approach, even though I did find it jarring because it's trying to be hyper, there's a kind of hyper realism to it, but there's a couple of moments there where it is super comic booky, like, Batman's flying off the thing, and then he's flying like using, I don't know what they call it, like this flight suit or whatever, and then he bangs, he opens the parachute under the bridge and kind of smashes into things, and you think, well, he'd be dead.
He's dead.
And because of the realism,
you better have an actual cape, not that wingsuit. You better have.
But because of the realism of it, you're just like, should I just be like, okay, it's a comic book thing, or so just accept it, or when it blows up in his face. Yeah, there was things like that. It had a Black Widow problem. Yeah, like same problem as Black Widow in some ways, like where it's just like,
I don't mind going.
Black Widow did it a little bit more, but in this film, it was okay just to do it that once. Black Widow, they did it a little bit more. Like, remember
they did it twice.
Yeah, it was twice.
I mean, the guy's wearing a Batman costume. Like, I never understood this idea that Riddler can't be in a green tuxedo with like a bowler hat because that seems silly, but a man in a bat costume isn't silly. So
that was those.
It's things like that, right?
Yeah,
like why does he have the horns? Like, he doesn't need them. They don't.
But here's
he needs them because he's Batman, right? So just go comic book with it.
Here's what I was going to say. The thing that I really liked about it is how it took elements of all the live action Batman so far. So it took a little bit from Burton. Burton kind of aspect of Batman, like with the the strange idiosyncratic kind of Gotham. It took bits from the Nolan with the realism, but it even took bits from the Adam West kind of Batman, where Batman would just turn up with all the cops, and they were like to the crime scene, or he'd turn up to the police station and he's just chatting there with all the cops, and they're all happy with him and stuff like that. So I think it kind of took little elements from all of those things and kind of made it its own reality. So I don't think that it was, in the Nolan sense, kind of realistic. It had its own kind of realism where it's just real in the sense of this is a low tech Batman, but it's not real in the sense that I'm supposed to believe this kind of Gotham, and these things, like somebody could walk in full Batman regalia to a police, investigation scene, and that would run in the real world. I think this is its own kind of world in itself. So I like that. What I want to do now is I want to go through character by character. At least the main 5. I'm going to we will talk about Barry Keoghan actually eventually, but apart from that, we're just going to talk about the kind of main cast here. I'm going to start with let's start with something exciting. We can start with Batman himself, Robert Pattinson, even though we've talked a lot about him. And I'm going to start with Ashley.
Like I said, overall, I thought that Robert Pattinson, just acting from an acting standpoint, nailed it. For me, he is. I can't talk about his Bruce Wayne a lot, but for me, his Batman to me is top tier. He is, in my opinion, the best Batman we've seen. Even I really enjoyed his interpretation. I enjoyed every minute of the intense staring, the way that he would observe the crime scenes, everything he did to me was just outstanding, and I loved. Like I said, I know a lot of people have issues with him walking, but I enjoyed that approach that he walked, he went in as Bruce Wayne, then he sneaks in. I loved everything about this character. I can't say anything about Robert Pattinson as the Batman.
Okay. K-Dots. I'm just going to go for a second, but K-Dots, just what's your take on Robert Pattinson?
Greatest Batman. Bruce Wayne was kind of meh, but I understand why his Bruce Wayne was the way he was. But as Batman, he was tight. Like he had the stairs, the walk, that little deadpan look on his face and stuff, and the way he was walking, it made a lot of people feel uncomfortable, and I like that. Like in this movie, if it was real life, probably a different story. But in this movie, he was making people feel uncomfortable, especially when he was in that investigation room. Looking at the crime scene, he's just walking around, people looking like, why is this fucker looking at me? This is freaking weirdo. I loved it because I was like, Batman would kind of do that, just walking around, big old dude, he's just walking over you. I liked it. I liked it. It was great. And like I say, real quick, he's for me right now the best Batman, but doesn't have the best Batman movie. But he's the best Batman right now, like Batman.
Interesting. J-Man, where do you stand on his Batman?
I liked him a lot. For me, the fails of this movie is more plot rather than character. I really like Pattinson. I was one of the few. Well, I don't get angry at anybody. The last casting I ever got angry was with Michael Keaton when he was Batman. I thought, what? Beetlejuice is going to be Batman? And then I was like, well, this guy's pretty good. I'm like, okay, I'm shutting my mouth from now. I learned my lesson in 1989. I'm like, I'm never speaking out against casting. I didn't speak out against Ben Affleck. I didn't speak out against Pattinson. I didn't speak out against even Clooney, any of those guys. I really like Pattinson a lot. I do like the staring. I know that sounds, it's almost, you might interpret it as non-acting, but it is acting. It's acting in more of a sense of what acting is, which is do you believe that this person is actually there in this moment versus
Yeah,
is this
doing
person,
this thing.
Yes.
saying lines that they need to say, and he doesn't have a lot of lines, so he has to rely on like eye movement. He has to rely on just facial expressions, the little that he does give. And I don't think his Bruce Wayne is that bad either. I know his Bruce Wayne is very close to Batman. It's literally just if he puts the makeup on, he'll just go right back into Batman mode.
Yeah.
But that's where he's at in his life right now.
Actually, my girlfriend mentioned this to me because I was like, oh man, he's doing such a good job, and he's like really clever because he does have a different voice as Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it was just at this moment where I loved it. He was in the Batmobile racing back.
Sounds more like Robert Pattinson is Bruce Wayne.
He was racing back because he was he just found out like that the Riddler had targeted him, and that it was that Alfred was in danger, and he's like trying to phone Alfred or whatever, trying to get in contact with Alfred. And he does the Bruce Wayne voice while he's in the Batman costume, and it's the only time he does his actual lighter. It's just a little bit lighter, but it's the one time he does the Bruce Wayne voice in the Batman costume, and I thought that was just brilliant. Like it's that absolute mastery of knowing exactly where your character is at exactly every single point.
Yes. And that that is where year 2 comes into play, in my opinion. I don't like the year 2 excuse for stuff in the Batman suit, but because he's so early on as Batman, he did lose control, and Batman is all about control. But because he's an earlier Batman, like Batman in year 5 or 6 or 7 wouldn't be screaming out to Alfred. He'd be like, I just got to get there. And he'd be calling me like, Alfred, are you there? Are you there? Can I talk to Alfred? Is he there? Like, whereas he got really anxious and nervous, where that shows him being a younger Batman emotionally, because no matter how much control you think you have, if it's someone you love, you're going to lose that a little bit. And I think that's where the portrayal mattered more than the, walking around thing, or because that was him being personally like affected now. Because as you said, the victims, he's not about the victims, he's about the vengeance. So the problem is that now that the victim is someone that he loves, now he's like, oh shit, he starts to lose himself.
That is part of the learning process. I think
that's the good point.
That was part of the learning process. And then, Catwoman also, Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman was part of that learning process as well, because at first he doesn't care about Annika and, like the girl this girl that she's lost. He's only kind of like really even specifically going towards investigating her because he's so intrigued by Catwoman. And it gets to a point where Catwoman even says to him, like, dude, like, what was it? He says to Catwoman, like, you have to pay for the consequences of your life. That's how detached he is, like, from this Annika's death. He's like, oh, like, that's the life she was living. Like,
and she told him, like, hold on. Yeah, I liked it. He was, and she
she humbled his ass.
It was that relationship, and plus the Alfred, nearly dying. That's where he starts to get back in contact with humanity again, and that's what I love about the story. How Matt Reeves constructed this story to bring Batman to all of these realizations throughout it. It's quite a deep meditation on what the mythos of Batman really is, and I appreciated it a lot. In that sense,
you want to know what
I was going to go on to Alfred after, but go on.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off what you said about the whole thing about him not having sympathy and stuff. I mean, about the Annika thing. If you notice early in the movie, remember Penguin made that joke about the mayor's wife talking about, oh, why don't you go ask the mayor? Like, oh, too soon. Like, yeah, someone like Penguin would make that joke. He doesn't care about lives and stuff. And when you have Batman doing the same thing, it's like, wow, you're really not that different from the Penguin.
Right, exactly. So he's just kind of like dismissive of like these people that he's saving. He's more concerned with like, let me get the criminal,
Right. Lock him up. He's not really thinking about like more of like the end games and of this all and stuff. He's not really. He's
Right.
Yeah,
he's
because
just
then
he thinks in a moment a lot. Because like he said, as he said, some nights he forgets, and he has those
Big to
eye
relive the
contact for a reason.
experience. He wants to relive the moment of him, you know, exacting his revenge.
This dude's a sick freak, man.
Yeah, he's fucked up, and that's the thing. When you think about Batman, yeah,
Remember, I
he's a
think
little
those
bit fucked up.
MCU fans beating up Batman and shit. That's why he got him,
Yeah,
right?
fucking MCU
Right
fans
after.
yeah,
out here,
that's
man,
why I got
coming
my
out.
Marvel hat, my Avengers hat on.
But anyway, let's
Marvel
move on
Comics
to
and my MCU.
Alfred. Now, Alfred underwhelmed me twice when I saw this movie, and then I saw it a third time because I'm a huge DC head. And
Third time too.
I fucking, you know, I don't love him yet. I'm not like, he's not Michael Caine. He's not even Jeremy Irons. I mean, Jeremy Irons had like more kind of, I don't know, how would you say it? Like, I like the spunky kind of relationship, you know, like the quips and stuff like that Jeremy Irons had. So he's got a lot of space, a lot to grow as Alfred. I thought maybe that they could have done with one scene of him training Bruce when he was younger, like so that you got more of a relationship between the two of them. So you understood when he said, you're not my father," kind of thing. But that being said, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is an Alfred scene. And it's that scene between him and Patterson, man, like, you know, when he's in the hospital, and it's just like, it's beautiful because Patterson basically explains, like, dude, you know, I've tried to control ever since that event, ever since that night. I've tried to control my emotions so I'll never feel anything like that again. But I still have that fear, and you made me realize that fear. And then, you know, like Alfred kind of breaks down and kind of tells him, you know, like, I tried my best, but you needed a real father. The acting was superb by both of them in that scene. So even him, man, I think he was fucking great. What did you make of Alfred, J-Man?
Well, I liked him. I mean, he's not in it that much, so it's hard to say. I like Andy Serkis anyways, so I mean, there was almost no chance of me not liking him. Really, like, he would have had to have really pissed the performance away for me to not like him. The scene in the hospital, I wish was a little longer, which is crazy in a 3-hour movie. The reason I wanted it to be a little longer is because I know they were trying to get to the plot points because they just had Riddler show him that video, and then he had to confront Falcone with the evidence from that video, and then he had to confront Alfred. The problem with that was that it was leading up to animosity towards Alfred, and Alfred just took a shot for Bruce. He woke up after being blown up. And when he wakes up, Bruce doesn't say, "Are you okay, Alfred? I'm glad you're alive. You're going to be okay. I'm glad you took a hit for me." Instead, he confronts him. He's like, "Oh, you know, you lied about my father." And I'm like,
"Why did you lie to me?"
It's like, "Why'd you lie to me?" And I hate when I really dislike when a character's like, "You lied to me." I don't know. It's a Supergirl thing. They did it in Supergirl one season with Lena Luthor. I haven't gotten over it. I hate when someone's like, "You lied to me." I just wish there would have been a little bit more to say, like, "Alfred, are you okay? You know, you've been like a father to me. Can I ask you this question?"
But he doesn't want to feel like that about Alfred. That's the thing.
But even if he doesn't want to,
he
could have had the respect to ask him in a better way, I think, as opposed to just confronting him. But again,
it's super angsty,
instead of the angsty, because, like, why would you trust Riddler, who you don't know, and Falcone, who's a guaranteed piece of shit? So it's like you trust those guys versus Alfred and your father. Like, you know, if I were to hear news about my mother or something, I don't know who my father is, for example. I don't know his name. He's out of the picture. So if I got a telephone, it's like, "Oh, it's my father." And he's like, "Oh, your mom lied to me." I'm like, "You know what, buddy? I think I'm going to believe her first over you." Right? Like, that's just my thinking.
Yeah, but at the same time, Riddler, he knew that the Riddler there was some truth to it because the Riddler was uncovering actual people who were doing, like,
yeah. I mean, and that's a separate thing. I don't like making Thomas and Martha Wayne look bad in any way, because I just feel that it just rubs me the wrong way and it taints the entire Batman for me. But in any case, it doesn't matter. The scene is good. I like Alfred. I thought he was good. I do like that scene. I just wish there was more to it so we could get more depth out of it, as opposed to angsty, like, oh, you lied to me. I'm like, ugh. It's just a personal thing. They did it in Supergirl and they carried it on for season after season with Lena saying, you lied to me, you weren't Supergirl. It's like, Supergirl saved the world 4,000 times. You can give her a break. But anyways,
I'll say one last thing I liked about Alfred. I like the fact that, like, Bruce kind of confronts him and says, like, you're not my father or whatever. And instead of him going on some kind of tirade about, like, no, I am your father and blah, 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 or like, I have been like your father. Instead, what he does is he tries to show him Bruce support by trying to figure out the riddle, right? Like trying to help him. So I like that was kind of like touching rather than the obvious thing, which would have been like for them to have like some blow up. He just goes, okay, I'm going to try and support him in a different way to show him that I do care about him. Widow, what did you make of Alfred?
I liked Alfred. I like, kind of like what J-Man said, though, he didn't have a lot to do in this film. So it's like hard for me to judge it. But the moments that he had quite a bit of dialogue, and like, I love Andy Serkis as well. He's just, I feel like every time I see him, even in these small roles, even in like Wakanda, in Black Panther, he was so good in that movie. And, so he's always, it seems like he doesn't get a lot, but what he has, he always makes it work for me. And even that first line when he's telling him, you know what, you can't give up on Bruce Wayne, and he's telling him in that moment, and Bruce, snaps back and says, "You're not my father," and he says, "I'm very, I'm quite aware of that. I'm not your father." Whatever the word, what he actually says. And then the moment in the hospital when he was like, "Yeah, all I could do was teach you to fight," and it was like the desperation, and just in that one line, like made me so. I was like, I didn't cry, but it was a very emotional moment. And
it's a surprisingly emotional movie at times,
Yeah, and I really believe that he's going, obviously, because where we see where he ends up at the end of the film, and where I think that we're going to see him next, he's going to take all of those things that Alfred has been trying to force upon him, that he, because he was too stubborn to take that on. I have to wear this mask of Bruce Wayne, right? I've got to do something, because if not, my cover is going to be blown, because, and I've got to do something else other than just fight and live in this, state of trauma. I've got to be something other than that. And I think
I've got to be more to the city and
tell him, in his own way. He wasn't saying that necessarily you got to be more to the city, but maybe I think that Alfred was saying you got to be more to yourself. You got to let some of that anger go. And all I did was help you fight and put you in this fight, in a way, that's how I interpret it. And I really, even though he wasn't in the film a lot, when he had those moments, they worked. And I like the moment where he, even though like he's frantic, but it is a younger Batman, and he's trying to get to Alfred, right? He's figured it out, and he's like, no, and he's frantic, and you see how much he cares for him in that moment. And then, so I liked those moments with Alfred. We didn't get a lot, but I thought they were really powerful moments.
That's why it's so frustrating. Like a lot of good Batman stuff is in this movie, but there's a lot of junk in this movie too. That's why I'm in this middle spot. Maybe when I'm gonna buy it on 4K. I already bought the toys. I bought the soundtrack. So I'm gonna watch it again.
I hope you'll be pleasantly surprised when you watch it again. But
I might be because I like Batman.
because as I said, like really. I can't tell you how much of the same experience I had when I wrote a whole bunch of notes on how this movie was like bullshit. Like I
came in
and then I was like, I have to scrap these notes the second time I watched it. I was like, I was like, this is like a student movie or something, like some student of
that's my thought too.
Who'd watched Nolan and wanted to ape his style. And I had a bunch of critiques, but I was just like, actually watching it again, it really is it's a Matt Reeves movie, and it's a love letter to the animated series, to Nolan, to like even Adam West in some ways. So Jaded, what did you
I think it's time for me to leave now. Oh gosh.
What did you think of Alfred?
They used them as minimal as they used the Bruce Wayne persona. Like the Bruce Wayne persona was whenever it was necessary for the story. Like it wasn't. I'm not talking about Bruce Wayne. I'm just using it as a comparison. Like it wasn't. Oh, let's do the Bruce Wayne character and let's explore the Bruce Wayne character. They didn't do that. It's the same thing with Alfred. They didn't explore the Alfred's character. They just how can we do, because we're wasting so much time in everything else, how do we cut down Alfred's role and Alfred's use to as short a time as possible? That's pretty much what Alfred was.
Okay, so you just didn't
shorthand.
really think about. Yeah,
like they've got to do.
Like,
I know you shouldn't have prior knowledge entering into a film. Like everything should be contained within the film you're watching. But I think they have to use a little bit of shorthand where people know the relationship with Alfred. And this movie wasn't so much about that, because we had a lot of that in the Nolan stuff in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like, let's veer away
let's
from that.
flip it and
enough.
like do a Dr. Watson, Jim Gordon instead. I felt like they went for, instead of doing like the mentor Alfred, let's do more of the ally Gordon this time. Which is it's a nice change of pace. I think it's a nice change of pace.
I agree with that. Yeah.
The other problem I had is that Alfred was more for plot advancement than being anything else. It's like first of all, why was Alfred opening up his mail in the first place? Right? Like there was no reason for him to open up his mail. Second of all, it's like I love.
He saw the Batman thing.
Yeah,
like, he knew that this was part of the Riddler's game. He was concerned. That's why. Okay, well, I'm answering your question, and that's why he opened it. I mean, it makes sense.
There's no reason for him to open it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. He wants to protect Bruce. Because he cares for Bruce.
How does opening his mail protect him?
And he wants to know what it is so he can help, right? That's why he opens the mail. It makes sense. Right. Not just so, Jaded. There's a reason, and it makes sense in the context of the story.
Right. And him being bulletproof. And
he's like, oh no, something. They literally zoomed in on it.
I love it. He turns it around and it says fireproof.
Right, but Alfred's smart. He helped with the first cipher.
Yes,
he's
what set off the bomb?
He's got this.
What set off the bomb? What set off the bomb?
Probably the timer that was in the bomb.
But you don't know that there was a timer in the bomb.
Oh my gosh, Jaded! We're doing it. Jaded Unleashed.
The thing was,
you were so well behaved last night.
Hold on, Riddler wanted to kill Bruce Wayne. Okay. So as far as Riddler knew, Bruce Wayne was just a regular guy. So he can go after the mayor and kill him physically. He can go after the DA, trap him and kill him. He goes after the commissioner. He goes after the commissioner, captures him. For some reason, though, he doesn't want to do the exact same type of thing that he does to them with Bruce Wayne. Capture him, tie him up, put him in a mask, and give the same riddle that he would have given Batman the same way he did everybody else. Okay?
Yeah, I agree with you on this point. There's a lot
then you have the fact that Batman is rushing back to the house.
I'll give you that.
And then Batman is rushing back to the house going, Alfred's in danger. What? Does Batman have this?
Wait. But maybe he staked out Bruce Wayne and was like, actually, Bruce Wayne won't be. No, Bruce Wayne won't be as easy. No, wait a second, Jaded. Wait a second, Jaded. You had such a point. Let me finish.
I wasn't finished.
But you were going on, like you have to give us a chance to like respond. So if he had staked out Bruce Wayne, he would have known like this is a recluse guy who's like got, it's much harder to get to him than to get to like the DA who's going to these clubs every night and
That's
and
true.
and it's super
True.
easy to
That's fine. Keep going.
so to get onto his estate. So it makes sense that maybe, all right, I'm gonna send Bruce Wayne a bomb instead,
fine.
right? Like it
Yeah,
will
but-
just be easier for me to like.
But
that's the easiest
Batman
way to
had
get
no
to it.
Hold
way
on.
of knowing.
And one
but
other thing,
Batman-
Jaded, wait 1 second. Bruce Wayne doesn't care about being Bruce Wayne or doing Bruce Wayne activities. So Alfred has been running all this. So I would assume Alfred opens all Bruce Wayne's mail
I
because
do too.
Bruce
Yeah.
doesn't care about the mail.
Sure,
He's like,
okay.
I don't care, Alfred. You open it. You
Okay.
do whatever you want.
Yeah,
Alfred
Alfred
How did Batman know Alfred was in danger?
The riddle.
It's a movie.
The riddle.
I don't know.
What riddle?
Jaded.
riddle says he wants to
They
kill
went
Bruce
to Wayne
Because
Mansion.
Bruce
The
Wayne
riddle
opens
was-
The
all-
video, and he
wants
thought
Alfred opens all the
Bruce
mail.
Wayne.
Alfred
riddle
opens all
is-
his mail.
The riddle was he wants to kill Bruce Wayne.
yes,
So why did Bruce suddenly think Alfred was in danger?
Because he wasn't
Bruce,
home.
because
Bruce
Bruce
wasn't home.
Wayne's at the mansion, at the tower. That's what Riddler is thinking. Bruce Wayne's at the tower.
Okay.
Alfred lives at the tower too. Alfred's
Okay.
in trouble too.
But Batman doesn't know that there's a bomb.
He doesn't
But
know
it
what
doesn't
it is.
matter.
He
He
gives
doesn't
you
know.
answers. When he's
I
in
think
trouble.
I think it's shorthand. He's right. It's a movie.
And-
it's shorthand, and
and-
they cut a couple of corners. But in the end of the day,
Wait,
there is
wait,
reason
wait.
for
Batman
Bruce Wayne.
didn't know what
There
it
is
was.
reason for Bruce Wayne.
He
to
didn't know
think,
what
like,
was
hey,
going to happen, to Alfred.
Exactly. I don't know what this Riddler's up to.
He told the
That's
other
my
maid.
point. That's my point.
Yeah.
He goes, Alfred, I need to talk to Alfred right away. And like, how does he, like, why?
Was concerned because he just figured
He's
out
not
that
sure
he
if
is in
the thing
danger,
happened yet.
that he's coming to his home, you
He
know,
doesn't know that.
but he doesn't know how he's what
Yeah.
Doesn't know how,
the plan
Jimmy.
is. He's frantic, right?
Yeah.
Because he is not there, and who could be in the crosshairs? Alfred, right? And who is the closest person? Bruce Wayne's not there. Maybe
You know
he
what-
does go after Alfred.
You know what's so good
if
about
it's not
this
just a
movie?
bomb.
This is what's so interesting about this movie. It had to be 2 hours and 47 minutes long. And it didn't have to be, because all it had to do was be 20 minutes, and all of you guys could fill in the rest of the movie.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's the necessity.
Jaded, we're
When
not
you go
filling
back
in.
to
That
being
was
well
in the
behaved,
movie.
Jaded.
That
I
was
like
in the
well
movie.
behaved.
All right,
Okay, so hold on.
all right.
Jaded,
That was
I had
in
so
the
many
movie.
negative
You gotta
points about
rewatch
this
it.
movie.
That was
You
in
have
the
to find
movie.
one that doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. Hold on. No.
He finds
hold on.
all the ones
It
that
doesn't
don't
matter
that
to
don't
you
matter.
because you don't care. There's a difference. There's a difference, J-Man, between a problem that's there and a problem
wasn't a
you don't
problem
care
with
Okay,
about.
but didn't you also tell me once before that you don't care how Batman comes to solution? He's Batman. So he figured it out because he's Batman. You remember that when you said that? So there it is.
No.
Yeah, you didn't
When
want to
he
know how
actually
Batman
does
does all of the things. This
he's
movie doesn't
Batman.
show you how
And
Batman
this
does
movie,
anything.
I'm responding to Widow. I'm responding to Widow. Yes, when the show and the movie establishes that. This movie doesn't establish that Batman can solve shit. He can't solve crap without anybody helping him.
That is
He
correct.
can't, he
I
can't
agree
do
with you.
anything.
He saw a
solves
majority of the
everything.
crimes. He saw a
That
He
majority of the
doesn't
riddles.
solve a thing.
Uh,
The only thing he solves on his own are riddles. And the riddles are irrelevant. It's all the clues that are necessary.
The riddles is the reason the movie. They
He's
can
trying to
even get
find
the
El
Riddler.
Rata. He's trying
Excuse
to
me,
find
the
El
riddle.
Rata
Hold on.
so he can
Wait,
get
the
rid of
riddle-
the Riddler.
The riddle where the answer is justice. What does that lead to?
It leads to the next
Nothing.
riddle, Jaded.
What riddle? The next
my-
riddle is that
Each
no,
riddle
hold on.
leads to the next riddle because
No, it
Riddler
doesn't,
wants him to
Jada.
follow these
No, it
riddles.
doesn't.
But you
No
know what?
riddle.
You know
Oh my
what?
God.
Jaded
No, I
is.
want
Jaded
this-
is
You gotta
I want
right.
rewatch the movie.
Jaded
These
is.
little reasons.
No.
riddle
I'm
leads
gonna
to
defend
any
it.
other riddle. None. No riddle
I'm
leads
gonna-
to any other riddle. You get a murder. You show up at the murder. There's the next riddle.
Yeah,
That's
and leads
it.
them to another thing.
No. But the riddles have no value. This is a
I'm
Riddler.
gonna agree with
This
you
is
on
a
this.
Riddler.
On a
Let me finish.
story, look. Okay.
This is a Riddler. The Riddler leaves clues or leaves riddles that actually give a hint on what is to come, so that the Batman needs to figure out the riddle to be able to. You have to figure out this riddle to stop me. In this movie, after he murders somebody, he then leaves a riddle.
Yeah.
No,
But
but
that's
okay,
not the
hold on,
Riddler.
Jay.
That's not
One
the
second,
Riddler.
hold on. The
Can I
riddles don't
say-
have a value in the sense of what you're thinking. First of all, I'm not a fan of this movie. I gave it 5 out of 10. But hold on. I'm going to explain the way this is. Yes. The way this is working is this. The Riddler believes that Batman and him have the same cause that they're fighting for.
Yeah, okay.
He leaves Riddles at the scene of the crime because he knows the cops are too dumb to figure it out, and Batman can. Okay. So he's telling Batman, look, I'm revealing all of the skeletons in the closets of these great, powerful men of Gotham City, which I'm bringing down and getting justice and vengeance, just like you're getting vengeance.
Okay,
we're together. The riddles, you're thinking of riddles like Die Hard 3, where they lead to another thing and then there's a puzzle at the end.
That's what the Riddler does.
No, you're right. That's what the Riddler does. And this is not the Riddler. I hated the Riddler in this movie. That's a separate issue. I'm explaining to you in the context of this movie, which I don't like, and I agree with you. I don't like this, but I'm telling you what they're thinking is happening.
Okay, now hold on.
And can I just say something?
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Nerdman.
Go ahead, Nerdman.
I'm sorry, Nerdman.
I'm going to say, Jaded, that there is an aspect in which you're right, because if we're talking about like Batman as the world's greatest detective, which he isn't in this movie, and I don't even think this movie's pretending he is. That he's still trying to figure things out. But if we're thinking of him as that, like, really, you shouldn't be just following the Riddler's riddles. Yes, you should be trying to figure that out because that will help you get closer to him. But you should also be doing other things on top of that to just try and investigate. Like, maybe I can get ahead of this guy, right? Like, let's not just follow him down his path, because if I just follow him down his path, all that's going to happen is I'm going to get to the end of it and he's going to win, right? So the best thing is to try and figure out some circuitous route to, to investigating, him, maybe profiling him, like what
but they never do that.
What kind of person would he be?
They never do that.
Anything like that. So that's the kind of thing that I'm saying that, in that sense, I get what you're saying. But I think for the sake of this movie, it just made sense that they're going to just follow the riddle. They did the same thing in 7, really. I mean, like, in a lot of ways, they were just following this guy's kind of...
This wasn't part of the game to reveal himself and get caught that early.
Yeah.
It was after Carmine dies. Then he's like, all right, take me now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Batman was supposed to, it's also a game too for him.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
So it wasn't a game to him. It was
it's a game too. He's literally saying
it was him exposing these people.
Yes.
It was him exposing these people. Yes. It wasn't a game.
And he's having fun doing these riddles too, JD. You don't think this
shit makes him
Jaded.
He says that he loves puzzles from a child, and he was very good at them. He enjoys it.
I'm not saying he's hating himself. I'm not saying he's hating himself as he's doing this, and he's remorse. But you're going, oh, he's having fun. He's having milk and cookies.
It's part of it. It's part of it. He's doing it with a
all right, Jaded. We have to move on. We'll get back to Riddler, but we're kind of trying to go through the characters. So I'm going to go through the characters a little bit quicker now.
We'll stay on this one nitpick for 4 hours. Like,
it's not a nitpick, Widow, and you know it's not a nitpick.
It is a nitpick.
No, it's not. It's not.
I'll say that.
I like you better when you behave.
That Bruce Wayne one was about the whole fire.
Let's go on to let's pick someone interesting. The Penguin. Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
The goat.
I mean, I loved it. The more I watch it, the more I love it. The first time again, I was like, maybe this is a little bit student filmmaker trying to like go, oh, let's make a gangster like an interesting Riddler character. But the more you watch it, the more kind of you delve into this performance and what he's doing. And he's so funny. He's so charismatic. He steals every scene. And yeah, there's not much really to say because he isn't like, the main villain in a sense in this movie. He's just the kind of guy that you think might be the main bad guy behind all of it. But then in the end, there's a swerve to somebody else. But yeah, everything Colin Farrell does in this performance is just, it's great. I have one hang up though. And J-Man, you're going to agree with me on this, I think as well. Why on earth is Batman again, like, instead of like hanging him from a roof or something like that to interrogate him, like, so he's like, he opens, he opens his eyes and like he's, in somewhere completely terrifying, and the Batman's, doing that to him. He's just like tied him up and he's against the wall somewhere and he's just talking to him there. So that kind of stuff again, I thought that was what was lacking with the Batman stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes.
I'll say this: I think flipping his car like 4 or 5 times was enough to
He
scare
didn't
somebody.
do it.
True.
He hit him in the back. Hit the back of his car. He could have died.
Thank goodness Penguin survived in this realistic
Yeah,
movie.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing you survived that crash.
It's realistic for film, right?
Realistic
But he wasn't bad anyways.
It's still a film. It's still
It was a red herring. He was a red herring.
It wasn't a wasted scene because they thought maybe it was a penguin because it's a rat that flies, right?
Everybody knows rat.
Yeah, a rat that flies. A rat that flies. Isn't that like a bat? No, it's a pigeon. A pigeon. A rat that flies is a pigeon. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway,
that was his
let's
error.
all go down.
When they brought up rat, they're thinking snitch. They're not thinking. They're thinking a snitch, a rat who flies. They're thinking penguin might be a snitch. Or whatever.
Why are you so angry, Jaded?
I'm not angry. I'm laughing. This is hilarious.
But anyway, all right, let's all go down the road. Widow, what did you think of Penguin?
I liked Penguin. I liked he's already throwing his hands up in the air with me. I liked the transformation. I loved the accent. I thought he was a great henchman, like this just like sleazy, dirty, like, character who, you could tell that he had other aspirations outside of being like this number 2 henchman guy. And so I really enjoyed his performance, and I loved his interaction with Batman, when he was talking with him. And I loved the little take it easy, sweetheart. I thought that was just so cheesy, but cool at the same time. And and I love the car chase. I love the moment when he thinks he got away. Obviously we saw it in the trailer, and
they should have given that away.
I wish they didn't give that to us in the trailer, but still seeing the moment, I still loved it in the film. When, and he thinks he gets who, he's like, I got you. And then when he sees him back, he's like, oh no. And then the car flips and then he walks up on the car. He does some great facial acting too, behind all that, makeup. I thought Colin Farrell was, absolutely funny at times, in a understated way, but he was hilarious, but not intentional. It just worked. He would have these funny moments and it didn't take away from the film. And I loved him as a henchman. And in the end, I thought there was kind of this slightly cheesy moment, when they bring Falcone in the light and how he reacts, he's acting like he's going to shoot. He's like, whoa, I didn't shoot. So I thought he was so great. I loved how animated he was, and I can't wait to see his show. Hi, Belle.
Next, who's next up there? J-Man.
It is a sweetheart.
Well, Penguin's my favorite Batman villain, and no, not in this one. I don't know. I didn't like this Penguin. This is Penguin in name only, just like Riddler is Riddler in name only.
Thank God somebody else realizes this.
All becoming.
I don't. Yeah, see, but I don't like him being under the thumb of Falcone. Penguin should rise up on his own and take over sections and be the man. Not, I'll get the scraps of Falcone now that he's gone. I don't like that at all. He doesn't look like the Penguin, so what's the point? The Penguin should have a monocle, a hat, or the umbrella or something. He wears a penguin suit. That's where they get the penguin name with the tails. Remember, they call it a penguin suit or whatever.
Oh, and Colin Farrell wanted a cigar or he needs to. I needed to visually look like the character as well as act like the character. I can't just have one or the other, or I can't give it full. If Batman acts like Batman but doesn't have the Batman costume, that's not Batman. I feel the same way with Penguin. If Penguin is acting like a cool Penguin, but he's not looking like the Penguin, then what are we getting here? It's just Colin Farrell.
He waddled. Remember?
I know, right? Like it's like that. I need more than that, right? So I wanted the Iceberg Lounge to be his, that he built from the ground up, and he creates this thing. I don't like this idea that Falcone is the center of everything that happens and everyone springs from him. It was like, the Spider-Man, where Oscorp in Amazing Spider-Man, everything leads from Oscorp, right? I don't like when one villain becomes the central thing, because Batman has a lot of unique villains that come from unique backgrounds, and starting to mesh them together really irritates me, because it just means that you're lessening one of them. And in this one, Penguin was lessened by Falcone, who I thought was awesome when we get to him. But but Penguin was lessened, and he's my favorite. So this was like not a great outing for me for Penguin. I like Colin Farrell. They could have made his nose a bit pointier, maybe, or I don't know. He didn't look like Penguin. If I see him, it's not Penguin, so I don't know how to judge that. It's just a guy. It's just a fat mobster. He looks like a Dick Tracy villain rather than the Penguin, right? He looks like a Dick Tracy character.
I think you're being a little bit like, I don't know, like gatekeeping a little bit with the
sure,
Penguin.
It's Penguin. It's my favorite.
Gatekeeping.
You like the Danny DeVito
Penguin was the only character who could dress up as his Halloween.
Do you like the Danny DeVito version?
Oh, really?
I love the Danny DeVito version, and everyone
Danny
always
DeVito's
says,
awesome. He's not the Penguin either, though. Danny DeVito is Tim Burton's vision of Penguin, which is really not really the proper
what I'm
Penguin
saying.
either.
Like, I don't think you're gonna get great filmmakers if you don't give them a little bit of space to use their imagination and like try and envision these things in a modern, like to contextualize them in a modern way. I mean, how are you gonna have a fucking monocle? Who wears a fucking monocle these days?
Penguin.
It doesn't.
Penguin wears one because he's old
Yeah,
school.
but
He's old.
in these days,
be,
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
It does make sense. He thinks he's from that time. He wants to be old-timey rich guy. It's a mindset.
He wants to be the Monopoly man.
He wants to be like the Monopoly guy. He wants to.
Who told this? Penguin told you this personally? Where did you get
tell me
this
from? Personally. I personally know him. He's very upset. He's gonna thumbs down your stream if we keep making. Listen, but it's not the Penguin. If you don't like the Penguin, this is a great idea. You're a great filmmaker. You're a brilliant filmmaker. You don't like the way Penguin is portrayed in the comics for the last 80 years. Perfect. Make up your own character. Oh, I'm not that clever. I'm not that clever. I can't make up my own guy. I'm not that clever. I have to take another character and turn it into what I think works. It's like, no. You didn't do that with Batman. You didn't give Batman a green costume and be like, well, that's my interpretation of Batman. I like green. Green's my favorite color.
I think I have a thing where I'm like, I don't think villains have like actual origin stories or actual, like they have certain kind of motifs that if you keep to those motifs, it's fine. Whereas I think the superhero does have the motif and does have the origin, and you can't fuck with the Batman origin. Like Catwoman, you can make her a prostitute, you can make her a secretary who's like, you can make her, like, I think you could, there's so many variations on what you can do with Catwoman, and it will still make sense as long as you keep to the motif of like, she could kick ass, she wears a cat suit, she's a cat burglar, and all of these all of those motifs. So the motif, I think, for him is that he's, obviously a criminal. He's, like he's high up within the, the ranks of like organized crime.
But he's under Falcone, so
he has features. What would you call it? Aquiline features that are like that of a bird. Or
you are so stretching it. He doesn't
look anything like Penguin. It's not Penguin at all. It's a name. It's a fat guy. They're calling him Penguin. That's it.
But he does. He looks like he has the nose and the weird like facial smile. Like, I don't know. He looked as I said, aquiline, like a bird-like. In a sense.
Is anyone angry that they didn't cast a real fat person? I'm just joking.
That's fair. That's a good point. All right. I'm gonna finish off with you, Jaded. So I'm gonna go to K-Dots. What did you think of Penguin?
I think he said he'd be right back.
Yeah.
He's out. Jaded, go on, spit your.
With what they did with his character, I absolutely loved what they did with this character. Him being snotty to Batman and all of that stuff, all of his lines. I didn't even know that was Colin Farrell until I was told it was going to be Colin Farrell. So the actual character that he was, I absolutely loved everything about him. But you could have replaced the Penguin with a character named John Smith, and you would have gotten the exact same thing.
Right.
Penguin. J-Man hit it right on the head. He's Penguin because the movie says, this is the Penguin. This is the Penguin, everybody. There's a supervillain here. It's called the Penguin. No, it wasn't. It was some henchman who you could have called John Smith. And that John Smith, I would have said that guy was just as good in this movie as Falcone.
I'll give you that point. I'll give you that. Yeah, like he was a cool character for the character that he was, even though he wasn't Penguin. But
I just don't think you can get all of the aspects of these characters that have existed throughout all of these different iterations.
Don't use them.
Right. Don't use
them. Don't use them.
Wait, so you expect Matt Reeves to cover all iterations of the Joker?
Why not?
No.
Like to make his version. You think Jack Nicholson did that? Jack Nicholson was very much the Joker, but I don't think he covered
this movie,
every single aspect. Like he hit every single note.
It won.
Everything that was the Joker from the comics.
Won.
Huh?
Hit one. Sorry? Hit one aspect of the Penguin in this movie.
He owned a club called the Iceberg Lounge. He had Tweedledee and Tweedledum as
those are the Mad Hatters guys.
But they were the twins.
Were the bouncers supposed to be Tweedledee?
They were bouncers at his club at the Iceberg Lounge. They were twins.
I don't know.
Oh my God, that is so pathetic.
They were.
No, Jaded, hold on. I don't know if that's really true. I don't know if that's really true.
Oh God, I hope not.
But those are Mad Hatter's characters, anyways.
Yeah, those are Mad Hatter.
Well, maybe they move on to Mad Hatter after the Penguin. Look, the point is that at the Iceberg Lounge they had twins covering the door. I think it's Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but I might be wrong.
But that's not But that's not part of Penguin, and Falcone owns Penguin. So Falcone owns
the Iceberg Lounge. He's the one who runs it. He's got he's a fat guy. He's got the facial features of the Penguin. There is Penguin stuff there. Like,
okay, so
there definitely is.
Man, if you would have seen that picture, if I just showed you that picture and you didn't know anything, and I said, what comic book character is this? You would have said Penguin immediately? No way. You would have been like, I don't know.
I absolutely would have guessed that was the Penguin.
That's a lie.
I'm not even lying.
Hold on.
You showed me.
Let's say that in this movie, he never even called himself Ozzy. Okay? Because the only acknowledgement that this character is established as the Penguin is because the movie poster says so, and on IMDb he's listed as the Penguin. Okay, if in this movie they never showed any of that, they never revealed the Penguins in this movie, and under IMDb they said Colin Farrell and they said John Smith, and that character's name was John Smith, would you have gone, that should have been the Penguin?
Yeah,
you wouldn't have.
No,
you wouldn't have. Okay? That's the problem. Great character. Colin Farrell's performance was amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Wasn't the Penguin.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm going to show you a picture of them side by side. Because I think you're just the Penguin from Batman Returns versus the Penguin from.
Here's another one. Do a picture of Prune Face from Dick Tracy and put it side by side of Penguin in this movie, and you're going to see the exact same thing. Oh, look, they're almost the same.
Right. If Prune Face was chubbier, he'd be the Penguin.
If Prune Face was the guy.
So that's just a false argument. It's like
it's
so what? Another character looks like the Penguin. That doesn't mean anything.
No, but Prune Face doesn't look like the Penguin. That's the point.
That's the point. The character that you think looks like the Penguin looks more like another character. You're trying to justify it so hard.
I'm not trying to justify anything
This
so
is not
hard.
the same thing.
Look, Look at the. You can see that there's a familial relationship.
I think the nose looks like it. I think the nose is. I mean, it's not as pronounced, but I see it in the nose. I'm sorry, that's just me though.
Okay, the nose.
It's not. I don't know what to tell you.
I'll give you that. It's the nose. And that's all that matters.
Are you trying to tell me you can't see that there's a similarity between the facial features of these two?
What I'm saying is, if the marquee never said he's the Penguin, if the ads never said he was the Penguin,
I would have thought he was the Penguin. If I see that guy in a Batman trailer, I'm gonna go, oh, that's probably the Penguin. Widow, am I going crazy here?
No.
Yeah, well, no, this is the Ship of Theseus argument. At what point is it no longer the Ship of Theseus? Like, if Batman is exactly the same thing in this movie, just picture the exact character of Batman, but he doesn't have the horns. Is that Batman? No. It's like he's missing key elements that automatically
he doesn't have a cape
by him as Batman. And that's important. Comics and movies are visual mediums. The visual look of Penguin, he needs to have an umbrella, not just because it's raining and everyone has an umbrella. He needs to carry around an umbrella with maybe a bird handle on it or something.
All right.
Have a monocle. He needed a few more things. It wasn't enough. And this Gotham guy is not Penguin either. That he was awful.
Yeah.
He was.
He's skinny, which is the main thing.
He's skinny, but he gets fat by the end of it. But look, I mean, look at all of these guys.
I wasn't a fan of Gotham. I didn't like. I didn't like Gotham either. And that was it.
I didn't like Gotham either. But look at all of these guys. Are you trying to tell me that you can't see between all of these guys like some like a relationship in terms of their physical?
Okay, so
I understand, James. I understand the point, and he's a very toned out, mild version, but I still get Penguin vibes.
But I think you're getting the vibes because
he never waddled. He doesn't go. He doesn't have the laugh. He doesn't have any of the mannerism. He doesn't even act. He acts like a regular mobster.
From the first trailer I saw of this, before they ever even stated it was the Penguin. Well, actually, sorry, no, I knew it was the Penguin. I knew Colin Farrell was cast as Penguin.
There you go.
To be fair,
yeah,
but I think no. Actually, sorry. Yes,
I did.
It is true. I knew Colin Farrell was cast as the Penguin, but I didn't know what he looked like because they hadn't released it. Like I hadn't seen any releases of the photos or anything like that. Right. So when I saw the trailer, and then I think he had one line in the first trailer or something like that, or you just see an image of him, and I was like, "Holy shit, is that the Penguin?" And then I thought, "No, it can't be the Penguin." And the only reason I thought it can't be the Penguin is because I was like, "That's not Colin Farrell." Yep. That's the only reason. And then I was like, "No, but it looks exactly like the Penguin."
But the fact that you questioned it is enough.
I questioned it because I thought it couldn't be Colin Farrell. That's the only reason I questioned it.
I will agree with you that he could be the Penguin. He could be the Penguin, but he's not the Penguin in this movie. That's the point. He's not the Penguin. That would be like taking the character of Riddler, Edward Nashton. If this movie had Edward Nashton 5 years ago, while he's still an accountant, can we still call him the Riddler? If Edward Nashton 5 years is shown 5 years prior, while he's still an accountant, can we go and he's in his office, doing his work, and we go, that's the Riddler? No, of course not. Because he's not acting like the Riddler. He's not doing anything like the Riddler. He hasn't become the Riddler. Ozzy in this movie is not the Penguin yet. So stop calling him the Penguin.
He'd have to get the monocle and the top hat and I don't know anyways. But
Andrea, what's your name on what's Andrea's name? Can somebody send Andrea the link if possible?
Yeah. I think I can.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. So Penguin isn't the Penguin. Good. All right. Yes. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner.
Lieutenant Gordon.
K-Dots, are you back?
No, I don't think so.
As Lieutenant Gordon, James Gordon. I'm gonna say, look, it's not like I was blown away. I liked him a lot. I really thought he was very, very good. I thought Jeffrey Wright is being good because he's Jeffrey Wright. He's fantastic. He's Jeffrey Wright, right? And he's great at that detective, the gruff voice, everything like that. Loved it. But it wasn't like, that was my favorite part of the movie or anything like that. Like him going, Jesus, what's going on, Batman? It was great. But like it was just like, it wasn't my favorite part of the movie, but absolutely loved him. Fantastic. Maybe if he was a little bit more, since they were going for this 7 vibe, maybe if he was a little bit more, had a little bit more of that Morgan Freeman aspect to him, where he was adding a little bit of something rather than just reacting and going. He was doing the best reactions you could possibly do to this kind of stuff. It's like the beaten down cop, good cop, or like whatever, who's just like, above his head, like the case is way above his head. Jeffrey Wright was doing a stunning performance with that, but it's not the most intriguing character. It's just, he was the Dr. Watson to the much more interesting Sherlock Holmes. So
that's a really good. I never caught that. But that's a really good observation. I never caught that. That was good.
Well, Riddler is Moriarty as well. K-Dots. What did you make of Jeffrey Wright as a Lieutenant? Lieutenant Gordon.
He was like the second best Jim Gordon so far.
Oh yeah,
in live action. Yeah.
Who's your first, K-Dot?
Gary Oldman.
Okay.
Trilogy.
Okay.
Gary Oldman's good. Yeah, Gary Oldman was.
I mean, do we only have 3 Jim Gordon live action adaptations? Or is only 2?
Well, we've got 4. We've got Adam West as well.
I can't remember if Gordon was in the serials. Was he in the movie serials? He may have been. I don't remember.
He was a non-entity in the Burton movies. Like he was just like there, kind of in the Burton
Gordon,
movie.
that was the one thing.
But in the Adam West one, he was kind of more central. Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, like Jim Gordon just gone from the Burton movie. It's one of the issues I had when I was like, where the fuck is Jim Gordon at?
PKL says Wright was a solid Gordon, slightly underwhelming. Oldman's Gordon had the most character depth out of them all. Yeah, I think so.
But to be fair, Oldman is the most developed, so that's why I say he's still the best one. But just for starting out,
I hope that I hope that they give Jeffrey Wright another level in the next movie than just being like, oh man, Jesus. This guy's hilarious. Like it was fucking great and whatever, but like I'm just like, I hope he gets a different kind of speed, because Jeffrey Wright's amazing. And
I didn't want to say it, but that is how he was talking.
I didn't. That was my number one nitpick. Remember, I didn't like how he changed his voice. I wanted Jeffrey Wright to sound like Jeffrey Wright, and he was doing this little take on his voice, and I don't like that. When I see Jeffrey Wright, I want to hear that Jeffrey Wright voice, that like powerful booming voice that comes out of Jeffrey Wright. And I didn't like that voice was toned down a bit, and I think it might have been because he was in these scenes with Batman, and he couldn't have that voice because his voice would have dominated those moments. And he was kind of like that G golly whiz, Copper, kind of like stunned by things that were happening like all around him, like I don't know, but I liked it. But overall he wasn't as developed as Gary Oldman. I completely
but he had a lot of screen time.
Yeah, he did. But I did really like it. But outside of just being this lieutenant who was working alongside Batman, and even though I love their chemistry, there was nothing else outside of that. He's just the lieutenant. He's the good guy.
You don't know his family. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know anything really about him. You don't know what drives him, even though he's the essential. He is the good guy. To me, he's like the heart of this film. Like he is what a good man is. And like we don't see what motivates him to be that good man. And I would have liked to seen that with his character. But Jeffrey Wright's performance was amazing. I enjoyed it, and I loved the chemistry between Batman. But the voice for me was a little, I wasn't really feeling the voice. But I get why they had to do that, because if he had that Jeffrey Wright voice, against Batman, that he might have overpowered him with his with that voice.
Can I ask quickly, J-Man, just before you go on to Jim Gordon, and I might ask this of everyone, what do you think of the pacing and the music, the score, cinematography, music?
Well, the score is 10 out of 10. I bought the soundtrack. I have I never buy anything, but I did buy this soundtrack. I thought it was awesome. The pacing was not great. That's the killer of the movie, because it's like, I think that this story could have been told in 2 hours and it would have been way better. But that's that. The visuals, I saw it in IMAX, but I sometimes find that when I watch things at home on like 4K or whatever with my TV and surround sound, they look better. It seemed a little dark. It's hard to tell in the theater because sometimes they make darker movies project darker. So I was like, it was a little hard to see.
Yeah, it was, because like really only lighting in the movie was like from the gunshots or
and the color, the reds, and the
but even that,
exhaust.
I don't think it was so dark you couldn't see. I didn't get
like
that,
yeah.
J-Man.
Yeah, it wasn't like
so dark you couldn't see it. I was like, no, it was a beautifully shot movie for me.
Well, that's why I said when I watch it again at home on my TV, which is set to the proper.
J-Man, have you seen Alien vs. Predator Requiem? It wasn't that dark.
Yeah, Alien vs. Predator Requiem was a black screen for about half an hour.
Oh, really?
It wasn't that bad.
With sound effects. I thought they just turned the movie off. I was like, I guess they're just turning it off.
I have not seen that movie.
Don't watch it.
I just want to
I'll take my word for it.
Before we get back to the characters, I just want to quickly go over pacing, music, and cinematography for everyone else.
I only bought 2 soundtracks: Batman Returns and this one. That's the only Batman soundtracks I've ever bought: Batman Returns and this one.
I like the Dark Knight one as well, man. The Dark Knight and Batman Begins were good.
J-Man, accept the Nolan trilogy into your life. Accept that music to your ears.
No, I can't. I can't do it. I like Batman Begins. That's it.
Batman Begins is awesome. Anyway, Widow, what did you think? Pacing?
Like I said, I didn't have a problem with the pacing until it seemed like we got to that third act, and it seems like where the movie could have ended, and it should have ended, and then they had to let's do this big thing, right? So like the pacing for me wasn't an issue. I was, invested throughout the story, like trying to figure out the clues along the way. And I remember like at one point, but I had made a statement, but after a while, the Batman theme started to drive me insane, right? but someone pointed out to me that was intentional. Matt Reeves was trying to drive that into you to feel that sense of hopelessness, right? That
really?
He hammered it. No, like the way that it was done. No, I'm saying not that I believed it, that I could see that point is what I was trying to say. And then you feel that because it's like it's just like, there it is. It's just digging at you over and over and over and over again to the point where it's like, it's inside of you and you're like, oh my gosh, but I get what he was trying to say. That's all.
I thought that I it was like it was pitch perfect, the music for me.
Oh, I loved it, but like
almost through everything.
I'm just saying the intensity it builds, it's like trying to drive you, to that point.
Yeah. All right. Because I want to get through this a little bit quickly. Jaded, what do you think? Pacing, music?
I don't know enough about it to be able to complain it. I thought everything was fine. I didn't have a problem with the pace. I mean, there were
you were too busy looking to nitpick the story beats to even know cinematography and the music.
Like you guys seem to be able to judge what a good soundtrack is and what a great soundtrack is and what a mediocre soundtrack is. And to me, it's like, I'm fine. It doesn't impact it as much for me. For cinematography, the only thing that I could even point out of great cinematography was after the car crash, where you see, Batman and it's all red and then it's upside down. I go, that was cool. I mean, I guess that's what great cinematography is, but I don't know what good or bad is. Everything to me was fine. There was nothing I had a complaint about on any of those three.
K-Dots. Pacing, music, that kind of thing.
The music was like, man, the music was straight up sex, man. It made me feel good. I loved it. That Batman theme, dude. That Batman theme. I literally have it on my playlist. I listen to it at work.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. That theme is epic. It's like, it reminds me of the animated series and stuff, like one of those type of traditional themes. But the score in this film was phenomenal. The visual, and this is why I say this movie only had a budget of $200 million. It is
only.
What are you talking about?
No, I had way less. It was
no, it was $200 million.
It's $200 million.
It's
but like,
I swear
it is.
In the budget.
No, because
like
we had that discussion on another stream that I was on, and we looked it up, confirmed it. It was the budget was $200 million. It's a $200
most of that probably
million
went to marketing, but
no, that was before marketing. Before the marketing came back.
No way, it was 200. It's
off that 200 million. It was more 200 million. It doesn't. It is who you get with that money that makes your movie tight. Is who, and the team that Matt got, the camera crew, sound crew, the stunt crew, epic. He used that money wisely. Shouts out Matt Reeves. But one thing I do have to say about the cinematography, we talked about this in my last stream. I didn't like those blurry backgrounds that he was doing. He was doing it too much.
What blurry backgrounds?
I think it depends on where were you sit. Like honestly, I had
I was sitting right in the middle.
The first time.
And that
you were sitting right in the middle.
I was sitting in the back in the middle. That shit was fucking up my eyes. I was like, this blur. Because
maybe my eyes just readjusted
my problem with it was that there shouldn't be two characters talking on the screen, and the background is blurry. I understand if you're doing it to build a suspense, you're trying to hide something that audience can't see yet, and the character's walking up to it, like a suspense, and the soundtrack start kicking in. But if two characters is talking, and the background is blurry, I don't like that shit. I want to see.
No, I know what you mean.
I want to be clear, like in Nolan trilogy, you didn't have none of that. Blurry backgrounds, and it looked beautiful. Matt Reeves, he did it a little bit too much. Didn't take away from the movie, but he was doing it too much. Gave me Zack Snyder.
He was doing it too much. I didn't see it where you were seeing it. I'm gonna have to look back at it, but I thought he was doing.
When you watch it again, look at the scenes where they're just characters just talking. Really look at the backgrounds, like it can be fuzzy.
I know what you mean. I saw it.
Background's
myself,
out of focus,
especially the first time I was watching the movie. I was like, "Why is this fucking thing blurring?" But the thing was that I think this is an R-rated movie that is trying its best to stay within a PG-13 rating, and one of the ways they were doing it was by blurring out all of the Riddler's, what the Riddler was doing and stuff like that. And it's just like. That's one of my criticisms. It was one of my criticisms. I was just like, maybe you make.
Was it rated R? It wasn't.
No. What I'm saying is, J-Man. That it wants so badly to be an R-rated movie. You could tell by the things that the Riddler was doing, how disturbing it was, that it wants to be an R-rated movie. But Matt Reeves has been told, no, it's got to be PG-13 because it's a Batman film. Right, and he's trying to do everything he can to, maneuver around that PG-13 rating. Right. So one of the things he was doing was blurring out exactly what the Riddler was doing, right? Like in different moments. So I just think like maybe they should have just gone there and just had it be R-rated. But like looking at the box office that's doing it now, I think they made the right choice because I think he was able to. Watching it a second time, I think he was able to just manage walking that line. Anyway, Andrea, my man, what did you think of the
score? I really like this. I really like the score itself. Like the music, every time Batman was coming through, I like when the score, even when it was playing during the city, I like the score completely. It was really put well for it. But there was the pacing was all right, fine with me. It could have dropped like maybe 20 minutes out of the whole film entirely, and it would have been fine. But no, the score, the cinematography, the blurriness, I heard a lot of people having the problem with it, and I wasn't really paying attention to much of the blurriness, but I mean, I saw it. Like I acknowledge it, but it didn't really take me out of the movie. Although I don't really like blurriness like that at all in movies or even in games in general. Like takes away, it does take away, but it wasn't distracting me a whole lot like some people were.
Mm-hmm.
But the Riddler, no, I like the Riddler in this movie. I did, even though like some people won't want the classic Riddler outfit. This wasn't going for that since it was based off of a year one Batman and taking bits and parts from like the Arkham games too. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean it was based off year one Batman? Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And we're gonna get to the Riddler. So we're gonna get back to the characters now. Everyone said what they thought about the cinematography and everything like that, which is.
But as far as like for Jim Gordon wise, like that character, I like them. I wish there was a little bit more of him in there. Now, as far as for Alfred wise, for Andy Serkis, I did want to see more. Like some people, I guess, wanted to see less of Andy Serkis as Alfred. I wanted to see more because there wasn't as much in this movie at all. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to show more of Andy Serkis in the next Batman film too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see more of his character.
The chemistry was there, though. I mean, the chemistry.
It was more like a father son chemistry. Actually, it really was. Just like how Alfred.
I would say maybe more of a reluctant father and son.
I can see that actually. Yeah,
I can see that he cared for Bruce, but he didn't know how to be a parent. Right?
Exactly. He didn't he even said in the movie itself he didn't know how to take care of you.
I love the way that I don't know how Matt Reeves has done this with how many different iterations we've had of these characters. Especially Alfred and Batman, or Alfred and Bruce Wayne, that he managed to find a new way of depicting them. Like that felt completely unique to Nolan. It felt completely unique to what Zack Snyder did. Zack Snyder's didn't feel like all that unique, like in some ways, even though I didn't feel like fucking Jeremy Irons and Ben Affleck fit the way that Bale and
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine fit, and the way these two fit. These two really fit each other somehow.
Really?
So I think they do. They have their own unique relationship, which is nice. And I do like Jeremy Irons a lot as Alfred. There was one scene where Bruce Wayne brings him wine, brings Jeremy Irons Alfred wine, or brings him a drink or something like that. I like that aspect where it was Bruce Wayne was actually serving him, like they were actually partnered. But outside of that, I didn't get that much out of the chemistry between them. I don't know. They were all good. But anyway, let's go back onto these characters. So Jeffrey Wright, who'd spoken about him? Widow, you'd spoken about him. Jay did. You spoke about Jeffrey Wright already or no? As Gordon.
Oh, yeah, he was okay. I mean, can I pretend to be outraged about the race switching? Can I do that? Can I pretend to care that he's supposed to be white and I was offended? Can I pretend to do that?
Get on your black conservative stuff.
You could do that. You could do that.
Okay, no, I thought he was fine. He was serviceable. Yeah. He wasn't outstanding. He didn't suck. He was fine. He was good.
Cool. K-Dots, what did you make of Jeffrey Wright?
I mean, Jade already said he was serviceable for the plot. Give him more screen time, and I think he can grow on me. He's not bad, but he was like you served the plot.
Yeah, he was served the purpose.
And Andreas, what do you make of Jeff?
I thought he was all right, like I said, I thought he was all right for Jim Gordon. He wasn't, spectacular or anything like of the sort. Nothing what the previous actor in The Dark Knight, forget his name, but I think he was more compelling.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman was pretty much the Jim Gordon. But Jeffrey Wright, I think, this is like a big new beginning for him. So him playing as Jim Gordon in this is just a start. So I can't really say that there was nothing that negative about him doing anything.
I think it was good.
It's a good start for him.
I thought the performance was good. So it wasn't like, he did
the
everything
performance
that the script required of him, and he elevated it a little bit. But it was just, as I said, like the lines were like, Jesus, Batman, like he's always kind of like,
like
shocked at what's going on, kind of thing, and that was his, his role.
The lines to me for Jeffrey Wright, I would say maybe a little subpar, but that's not really a nitpick at all. It's just slight under par the way the script was for him to say those. It was a little underwhelming. It wasn't like hard impacting or anything heartfelt, but
I think
worked
he's
for the
the
story.
only one in the film of the main characters who didn't have a moment, who didn't have like a monologue or something like to explain why they're doing what they're doing. Like everyone else had like that moment to really shine and say what their situation was. So he's the only one that you didn't get any like background information on, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when he got serious in the film, especially when him and Batman were like getting Penguin with all that debacle between El Rata and La Rata, which I cannot believe they messed that up. But I see that for the comedy aspect, not really nitpick. It was funny. I thought that was a little bit funny because, two greatest detectives in the world, and either one can't even tell between El and La. Like that made me chuckle a bit.
Yeah, he fucked up there. But he quickly figured out the URL, URL. So that was good. All right, let's move on to the next character. I'm going to go with John Turturro as Carmen Falcone, the Falcon. I'm going to start off here. I thought this guy was fucking amazing. It was one of my favorite performances in the film. I really just thought he was so sleazy and understated and like bordering on creepy. Just he was basically a gangster, but also a serial killer who went around strangling women. Who knows how many women he'd like actually ended up strangling. That was his like kind of MO with these women. He killed. Clearly, he killed. I like the way they built up to how he killed. He'd killed Zoe. He killed Catwoman, Selena Kyle's mother, and then he kills Annika in the same way, and he's about to kill Catwoman in that way. So I thought he was just fantastic. He didn't have like the most screen time, but when he did, he didn't chew the scenery necessarily, but he made sure that. I'm here. Like I'm the boss in this scene. He was great. Fantastic. We could go with K-Dots next.
John Turturro's Carmine Falcone. Thank you, Matt Reeves, for turning this actor into a mob boss. This is what he needed for years. John Turturro, he was born for this shit, and I loved it. He wasn't like he wasn't the mob boss as the outbursts and stuff, and just if you slightly tick him off, he's gonna just straight up kill you. Like he spoke calmly, but don't confuse his calm demeanor for weakness type of thing. I love that. I loved it in this movie. He was solid. He was solid. I kind of wish he didn't die, but Carmine Falcone isn't really that much of a big factor in Batman stories anyways, because like there's much bigger fish to fry in the future with like Joker, Bane, and other bigger super villains. So
Widow.
Like just stole some of the things I was gonna say. No, I'm just joking. No, I really like that he was kind of like this understated, like very quiet in the sense that he wasn't like this, quick to anger type of mobster. He was very quiet, calm, reserved, but very menacing, in those moments. Like I've talked about it. I love when he's talking to Bruce, outside the funeral. And even though he's kind of reminiscing about this moment and he's trying to kind of connect and get in with Bruce, it's still very slightly threatening, the things that he's saying. And throughout the film, like anytime you hear him speak, he doesn't speak loudly, but you can tell he means what he says, and he's
absolutely.
very intimidating. And then, like you said, when he killed, when Catwoman has the realization that he killed his mother, he killed Annika. He's about to kill Selena in the same way. Here is this man that he runs everything, and he knows it, and it's just I just think he's phenomenal. He's the best.
I love the way he's so understated when he's killing these chicks as well, man. He's just like.
He's so calm about it.
Don't struggle. Don't struggle. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt you. I was like, what the fuck is this?
He is creepy, and the way that he plays his character, it's just a quiet.
Especially actually when he walked into the club and he just randomly puts his hand on Selena. I'm like,
yeah. He said, "Don't be a stranger." Or when he tells her, "Don't be a stranger," or whatever that line is, it's just like.
Because at first when I thought he did, I was like. I really feel like he probably forced himself on this girl, and she's like, but we kind of find out, that's his daughter.
Yeah, later it was his daughter. Yep.
I thought it was something extra creepy.
Andrea, you go. What did you make of Carmine?
I thought he was actually a really good actor for Falcone. Comparing to the one in Dark Knight, it wasn't as compelling at all. I actually like the Falcone in this one a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Typical smart, mobster, very intellectual. He uses the compassion to get to people that way, to use them.
Yeah,
he does have the compassion. He almost seems like he could be cool, and then once you get in bed with him, you realize,
I
made
a very
horrible mistake.
Like his words are articulate. The way he speaks is very articulate into how he's trying to portray like his messages and his like ruthlessness in a sense that you want to be able to tell unless he actually knew who he was. Like that's what I thought about him. I thought he was really good. I was like, when I saw that they picked him to be Falcone, I was like, they picked a really great choice.
Yeah, that was a great choice. I was never worried about that, but I didn't know that Falcone was going to be so integral to the story because I thought, it's just going to be. That was my only thing. I was like, you're going to waste, John Turturro on Falcone. He's just going to be, like whatever. And then, but he was so integral and cool in the story. JD, you look like you're going to vomit with how much positivity is going on with this film. You've almost gone
I'm gonna need a diabetes shot. I'm gonna need a
oh my gosh, you are.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting the lyrics ready for. We're all gonna hold hands and sing "Kumbaya."
Hold my hand. Let's do it.
So, what was your take on John Turturro? When I first saw the character, I looked at him going, that guy looks familiar. Where do I know him from? And then I checked and I'm going, that was the guy from the Transformers movie?
Exactly.
And I'm going, this I ended up
Brother, Where Art Thou too.
Yeah, he was in Barton Fink. He was in
great things.
Do the right
thing. Yeah. And it was like, and he was like good, but the only thing I could remember him from was with the Transformers movie. I'm going, so this guy actually is a good actor. This guy actually does know what he's doing. So as for the actor, I thought it was great. But as for the character of Falcone, he was okay. I mean, there was nothing special about him.
Wait, what?
Because to me, there was so much of the Penguin character that I cared more. I honestly really didn't care about Falcone. I was more interested in the Penguin's character. And if Falcone died, it was like, I don't really care. I prefer.
It kind of would have been cool if Penguin was doing that. What Falcone was doing, because it would have kind of because that's the actual real big time Batman villain. But I'm hoping that they're gonna show a darker side to Penguin anyway.
Man, Penguin hires people to do shit for him. He don't do shit.
Yeah.
Penguin gets down. He's a freaking. In the comics, he gets down.
I'm saying in the movie though, he's scarred. Like in the movie, he's all scarred and beaten up. So I can see him having.
I'm not saying he can't. He doesn't.
He was good.
But he does have his minions guard do shit for him.
Oh, okay.
He was good in Jungle Fever as well.
I can't picture.
John Turturro is a legend, bro. All right, next, Selena Kyle. What did we make of Selena Kyle? I'm going to start with the lady in the house, the queen up in here, the widow. What do you make of Selena Kyle?
Widow,
You're on
Ashley,
mute.
you're muted.
you're on mute.
muted.
Yeah,
Ankle
sorry.
biter.
I don't know how I
Ankle
missed you.
biter.
How I missed you, Andrea. So Catwoman, like I said, going into this movie, so, Zoe Kravitz was like the one person I was kind of like concerned about, you know, just from an acting standpoint, just because like
Yep.
I don't think she's a bad actress. I just don't think she's memorable in a lot of her roles. I thought that she had the look, but seeing her in this role, I feel like that she, this version of Catwoman, this kind of modern take on her. I mean, still Michelle Pfeiffer is still my favorite. I think that she did a very good job, you know, against with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I mean, at times she put him in his place. I liked how much love and care that she had for Annika, and it was kind of like that, you know, strays when she talks about, you know, I like to take in strays, because here's Annika, someone who is kind of like, you know, thrown out by society, right? And she wants to help her and take her in and get her out of this situation. And I thought that it was also in the way that she used the cat burger experience in this film, like it made sense, like what she was doing, you know, to retrieve the passport. I know that Jaded has a different feeling about it. And I also like, we're not going to get into it. And then I also like, I liked her mask. I know a lot of people had a problem with that, but it made sense because, you know, she doesn't have a whole lot of money. And so she creates, you know, this mask, you know, out of, you know, just this like stocking cap, and it has little cat ears. And but I just loved how she always challenged Batman. She challenged him. And she had so many great lines, like throughout the whole film too. Like especially, I love the stray line. That was one of them. I love when she schools him, when she was like, you know, talking about Annika after her death. He was like, well, you know, she was living that life, and she, you know, put him in his place, and was like, you know, it's basically not that simple, and explained
I can
to
tell
him.
you're privileged, yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah. And then I also like when he's like, don't ruin your life over this. And she said, don't worry, honey, I've got 9. And then she pushes the cop, and then she takes that jump.
Callback to Batman Returns, by the way.
Yes. I loved it.
I was laughing actually at that part.
And I loved how like later when she tries to get him to go with her, and she's like, oh, you know, he's spoken for, you know, saying that Batman belongs to Gotham. So I thought that she really proved me wrong, because she is very memorable in this film. And I think that she was.
Can I ask just one last question that to you, Widow? Because there's been some mixed reviews on the chemistry between between Robert Pattinson and her, and I'm curious what you think. Before I say anything about what I think about
I believed it. I believed it. I believe that, you know.
Like, did you believe their first kiss?
Yeah, I believe the kiss. I believe that he was kind of awkward, and, you know, but he, you know, once it was happening, he was for it. I mean, he was definitely awkward because, you know, he was this awkward, you know, socially awkward Batman, and she's kissing him. But like, there would be other moments that I felt like the chemistry was even there. Like, there was one moment, I can't remember exactly what they're doing, and he's like looking at her, and they're close, and they're like, she's handing him.
Yeah,
something.
no,
I know they're
he's
on the
checking
outside.
eyes. He's checking the eyes, you know, and that's part of the beauty, because she thinks, like it's a romantic thing, but actually he's just checking to see if the things are working.
But there's another moment though when he's like actually looks at her later on when they're out there, you know, out there on that balcony there. That I can't I'm trying to remember exactly what's happening. But they're very close, and it's like he's looking at her, and you feel the connection there, you know. And I see it later on too at the end when she's trying to persuade him to come with her, and it's like he doesn't want her to leave. Kind of, I feel like he doesn't want her to go, but he knows that he has this other calling and he can't go with her, So I bought the chemistry.
I did as well, and I'm not gonna go on to someone else first, but I was gonna say, like, I found the first kiss a bit jarring again the first time I watched it, but then the second time I watched it, what I thought was, and people tell me if you agree with me, I thought she was trying to manipulate him then. I thought that was the Catwoman seductive element of Catwoman, where
There
she's
wasn't
actually
that much depth to her character. Come on.
No, I really did. I think she was like, I thought she was like, yes, she's attracted to him, but I don't think that's why she kissed him at that point. I think she kissed him at that point to go, help me out with this Annika thing. Like, if he cares about me a little bit, I can tell he's intrigued by me, because I'm the only one who's like a woman who's like him, who's going out in a cat suit, like doing crazy shit. So, like I thought that was a bit like kind of manipulation. What do you think, K-Dots? Like that first kiss, did you buy it? Did you buy it?
I think it's multiple things. She's trying to get him to help to do something. She was also interested in him. Like there was a lot to it. It wasn't just I'm gonna. Well, she obviously wants to have sex, but I mean, shit. I don't blame her. She's interested. They're like. Just like what Nerman said, there's these two people in these costumes going out at night doing both their respective things. Batman's out here fighting for vengeance at the moment, fighting criminals, and she's out here robbing people and stuff. And I can see connections being made between them.
Okay, Jay,
did you hear that, Widow? Did you hear that, Widow? She's out there robbing people.
Okay, Jay did.
Well, she is.
Dot, thank you, because you remember the conversation we had yesterday. This is going to be amazing. Thanks, Dot.
Yeah.
Jay, go on. What was your take on Catwoman? Did you believe the chemistry? Did you?
I've already done that. I'm not going to do that again on this one, Widow. I thought the romance was incredibly forced. It was unnecessary. Like everybody's talking about how everything's a setup. Well, fine. You could have had this out of the blue romance. That could have been something that could have been set up for later on. You didn't have to suddenly be this couple because whatever. With what she served in the.
They're really a couple.
They're not a couple.
They weren't a couple.
No, I know what he's saying though. He's saying that there shouldn't that the film didn't get him to a place where he believed that there should be any romantic kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to nitpick what he was saying. I was just trying to be like, Jaden, I just wanted to nitpick. I was just
trying to say it possibly could have went.
And you did an admirable job, Widow. You did an admirable job.
But here's
honestly, I thought it would have been more corny if they kissed at the end and she goes like, "I'll stay."
I just wish they never kissed at all. Like
I mean, I could have done without the kiss and then the question.
Yeah, I mean, they could not kiss either. That could have worked too.
Yeah, that's all. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, she's leaving.
That's what we're talking about, evolution. We're talking about if they lack chemistry, actually, at the moment. I'm good. Look, let me save what I have to say for the last thing. So, Andrea, what did you think of Zoe Kravitz as?
I think she's a lot better than Anne Hathaway ever was as Catwoman. I'd say the sexual tension or the chemistry between her and Pattinson was there. It clearly was. Pattinson was definitely intrigued by her. He knew he wanted to kiss her so bad. There was a time when he wanted to kiss her so bad in the movie too. They were actually feeding off each other. It's like not just like the love chemistry, but the way that they were actually covering for each other.
They were both damaged souls. That was basically it. Like she knew that, like, if a guy is doing this, he's got to be a damaged soul.
And especially when especially with that woke scene of that people are fucking calling it, which is bullshit. That woke scene where she was talking about rich white people. Like. I wasn't
which they all were rich white people, literally.
And that's what she was trying to tell him. Like, you're not,
Mm-hmm.
all that money, but you don't freaking run anything, and she wasn't insulting the rich white people. She wasn't freaking talking about like any other people.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to get Pattinson to wake up to realize, hey, you're just as broken as I am.
Right. And
But
actually,
her part,
I think there has been an overreaction to it, PKL Entertainment. I
yeah, it's
just
been
think it's
over.
ridiculous.
People are
There were literally like these rich white people that the media like was caring about in the film, and she's saying, but nobody cares about us, people like us, like me and Annika, like an immigrant and like just poor people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think she was getting at. I don't think she
that's
was
what the
like
context.
using
That's
it
what
as
the
a
whole
kind of work
context I
point.
got out of that too. Like I didn't get any other.
It's a class situation in Gotham.
Exactly, it's a class.
Finances and stuff.
Yeah.
Not much.
Exactly,
I mean, there's
she
probably
was
is a
speaking in
race.
class, not
Yeah.
like as
I
in
think
race.
it was done well. So like
Exactly.
for me, I think
It was,
if those moments are done well, they work, and it didn't feel
that was really
forced.
done well. It was. It was
And it
showing a
felt like
light on
something
something
that
that was
she
true.
would say. It felt like
Yes.
something this character would say. It didn't feel like out of character, like in some films where they're just like suddenly a
There's this
character
weird
just
line that
starts,
just
preaching to you about some shit.
like
Like
when
boxing for no reason.
when Mystique in that X-Men movie, she was like, we should change the name to X-Women. Like, that was just like that. It just feels forced. But when you have, especially the characters that are in the film, they're all privileged, white people, and that I don't, and she
that
was
are being
talking about
killed
the
and they're
system
being
as a
exposed.
whole. Yes.
Yeah.
That they're the people that are, propped up in society and in this world that they live in. And I think that it worked in the context of the story. It doesn't always work on screen, but here it works, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural, and it feels like something that she would say.
Because if you look at like the background of Gotham, it's in so much chaos, so much disorder, that it's there is the rich white people that are running it in there. And the history showed in that movie that it was the Waynes and also the Waynes family, and it was the other family, the Arkham family. Those were the two rich families that were running that city.
Well, they're the two founding families. They're not the ones running it. They're just a founding family.
Yeah, the founding. I mean, but they're the old money.
So that line of the Kravitz in this movie works really well in that context completely.
Yeah.
Especially when the city's in disorder.
Yeah.
And also,
but I think more importantly for the context of the movie, it was that that Annika, this sex worker from this club, had been brutally killed, but all people were talking about were the guy the mayor and all of this knew. And then that's why Batman sent that thing at the end, so that Annika got some justice by the end of it, like so that she was actually the one that they were caring about who got,
because this because here's this woman from another country, this immigrant, here she is, kind of thrown out, by society, and nobody cares that, this woman was killed in a brutal way by these corrupt people at the top,
but nobody knew that she was murdered.
But nobody cared that these things were happening to these people in general. I'm not saying to necessarily her specifically. I meant just like these women. What happened to Selena's mother? What happened? Nobody cared about them, right?
Do you think because she's mixed race? No, we'll talk about that after. We've got to go on to a next thing.
I wanted to quickly answer that answer. I just want to say I'll answer that question simply no.
Okay.
I didn't get that feeling in the from the way they were telling the story.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get that feeling either.
That's why I said no.
I'm gonna say I think Zoe Kravitz was delightful. I had the same opinion as you. She was the one I was most worried about, like Widow, in terms of the casting. I was like, Zoe Kravitz, really? Like, I've seen her in a couple of things, and she's never stood out for me at all.
Yes.
She's pulled a 180 on this, man. Like, she stood out big time in this movie. she was a great Catwoman. Like, you know, as close to Michelle Pfeiffer as you could fucking
Second
get.
best. Yeah,
You
Michelle
know,
Pfeiffer's
she's
still
second
number
best.
one.
Easily second best. And that's saying something, because Michelle Pfeiffer is like fucking crazy in that movie. She just goes wild. But this one, I loved her. And I love the fact that she was seeking vengeance. Like, the theme of this story, like, plays through all of these main characters. Riddler seeking vengeance, Catwoman seeking vengeance, he's seeking vengeance, and they all have vengeance for these interesting reasons. And I just think she played it like I don't know, like Catwoman could be real. That's what she did. Like, in a similar way Patterson did it, but like even I think more so. Like, this wasn't Catwoman. This was just a woman who happens to do the Catwoman flips and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but like a real fucking person who's going through all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, I thought it was great.
And I did want to say this too, real quick. I did, and this is for the future. That's why I say I like at the end that their relationship is like up in the air and shit. Now I'm wondering if she comes back in the third movie, how Selina's going to react to it, finding out that this is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
because she does have an issue with like rich people,
privileged
rich people. He's white too, obviously, but but. Well, I wonder how she's gonna feel when she finds out. Oh, this motherfucker is Bruce.
What
Wayne.
is she gonna do when she finds out he's white?
She doesn't have to be a bartender anymore.
What about when she finds out he's white?
When she's gonna find out he's white, that she doesn't realize he's white.
It's like, oh my gosh!
Well, that mask seems to hide everything about Batman. No one recognizes
Asian man's chin. That could be an Asian man's chin.
You already know.
Let's shout out to that chin, like that jawline on Robert Pattinson.
She already knows.
Perfect.
She already knows he's a rich white man because she can see that he's white, and then she says,
I don't think she knows he's rich. I don't think she knows he's rich.
So
she doesn't know that he's rich, but she knows he's white.
Yeah, but she's also assuming that he's rich. So when she ever finds out,
right,
it's
from what he's saying and stuff. But like that's only some like from what he's saying.
Right. But what I'm saying is that I don't think she'd be that surprised if he was.
Yeah, I'm not saying she'll be like, oh my gosh, you're Bruce Wayne, I'm never gonna get with you. But I think it's gonna be kind of a shocker when because she's probably hoping that it's not some like rich douchey guy, and actually a guy that can level with her and who is, like down there with her a bit.
Yeah, just some crazy white guy who walks around wearing a Batman suit.
All right, so we're gonna go on to there's only 2 characters left that I want to talk about.
Don't you talk about that?
I'm gonna talk about the lesser character first. Now, I didn't have any problems with the pacing of this film once I saw it the second time, and once I was like engrossed in like the mystery element of what was going on and trying to like work out what was going on with Batman and Gordon. So I didn't really have any pacing issues. But there is one scene that I don't know why it's in the movie. I honestly maybe it will develop further, but I didn't like it. And that was the scene with Barry Keoghan as fucking Joker. I don't mind what Paul Dano was doing necessarily. But like honestly, like I don't get this Joker. I don't get Matt Reeves' vision of I think he needs to call fucking Joaquin Phoenix quick shot to replace this guy, because I don't get it. Like it was for me just like that was the point where I was like, wow, this is a student movie. This is like one of those YouTube videos you would see of, students doing their own take on the Batman and like trying to copy Nolan's style. It was just like, that wasn't, I don't know. It just had too many Jokers recently. We've had really fantastic. We've had Nicholson now. We've had Jard. We've had Joaquin. They're all fantastic. and plus we've had obviously. Oh, sorry, did I say Jared? I meant
Heath.
Heath.
Heath
Yeah,
Ledger.
Jared, and I was going to say plus we've had Jared, which
Like,
is best.
did you
is
just put
best
Jared as
forgotten.
good?
Yeah,
I was
didn't.
like, what? But I thought maybe he did because he did like the 2016 Suicide Squad.
No,
so.
I don't like him in the 2016 Suicide Squad. I like other people in that movie. But yeah, I don't know what everybody else thought of this Joker, if they vibed with him, but I didn't vibe with it. I didn't get what he was doing.
I didn't care. It was barely showing of him at the end of the movie. I didn't care for it, so it was like, okay, whatever.
But it scares me that this guy is going to be Joker going forward.
The laugh was terrible to me to begin with. It was really cringe, which didn't gravitated towards that Joker. I was like, forget that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Andrea.
Might as well get Jared Leto back.
Yeah, it would actually be better.
I would have rather preferred Jared Leto at least.
Well, you can't. Yeah. It's an Elseworld story, so you get him.
What did you make of his Barry Keoghan's Joker, K-Dots? All right.
K-Dot?
What did you make of it, Widow?
I've said it. I thought it was a nothing burger. And just to like piggyback off what you said, like, why do we need another Joker? Like, we already had, even though, I like the Joker film, and I said to me, it's not essentially a Joker film until the end, he becomes a Joker. But Joaquin Phoenix did such a great job in that film. And I know that these two films are not connected, just because of how things that play out in these stories. And it just like makes me feel like, oh, so we're probably not going to get that Joker 2 movie. Like, if it's not Joaquin Phoenix, I don't want to see this, realistic, real world take on the Joker. I don't want to see that again. It's just like Batman has other villains. Can you do something else? I just was like, okay. It just seemed like I didn't care. It wasn't like, oh my gosh. Like, we heard it and it was a rumor, but it wasn't like a rumor that, like, when you finally see it, it's like, yes. It was just like, okay. Like, I don't give a shit.
Why Barry Keoghan? Has he been good in something that I don't know?
He's good. Everybody that didn't like Eternals.
You go from Paul Dano, and then you expect me to be excited for Barry Keoghan,
Druig, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people, and I don't see how they think he was good in Eternals. I don't get that either at all. Like, I don't get it. I think that he was one of the weaker characters in that film, but people's like, Druig is like the best thing from the movie. I'm like, where and when and why and how?
Yeah. Actually, they only say it because Druig and Makari's relationship. They only say it because Druig and Makari relationship.
But they also said that he was OP, that his performance was amazing outside of that. It's just
I don't remember what was amazing for him in that movie.
Exactly. That's why I said when, where, how. Like, it's not. I just don't care. It's the thing. It's like, why are we doing another Joker?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe his Joker may be good. We don't know. But but showing it after, like, towards the end of the movie in the Batman, it didn't. Like I said, it didn't gravitate towards me to him. So I didn't feel nothing.
Yeah, but I understand they're setting it up. Unless they're like going to do this thing where him and like the Riddler's not completely done and they team up and it's. They do something like that.
I don't think
I was going to say, but I'm not done. But they do that. That storyline does exist where they.
That's why Ashley. I hope with Riddler. I hope they do it like Scarecrow from the Nolan trilogy. Like, he's a recurring villain in each movie.
Yeah, but
I used to be reoccurring, and then there's a much bigger villain to fry. Aside from Joker.
You got to do some Red Hood, something with the Red Hood gang. You got to, if you're going to. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it.
Yeah,
like, give me some completely different thing with the Joker. Like, but I don't care at this point. Like, make me care, and maybe. But right now, it was just like it was just a nothing burger. To me, it just like kind of brought the movie down in a little way because it was like that reveal, but it's like I don't care. Like you could have done anything else but that. Anything.
Honestly, I just think they need to get Joaquin Phoenix. I don't care how they do it. I don't care if it doesn't match up with the stories or whatever.
Just don't bring him into this world. Like keep him over there in his films because Matt Reeves doesn't want a connected universe. Just why did you not do somebody else? Like we don't need all these Jokers. I know they think. I know we've had some. It's like, oh, we can't do the Batman without the Joker, but it's just like, yeah, you can. Like I know that's like his number one, villain, but it's just like we don't need to see that. Here. Yeah. We don't. We really don't.
Like,
I mean, it would be great if they could connect it, but I don't think they will.
What did you make of the Joker?
I didn't understand the point of introducing him to the Riddler while in Arkham. Like, if you were going to tease the Joker as his own villain, then you would have done it differently. But is the idea that they're going to partner up, and why would I want to see a partnership between these two in the first place?
Well, I don't think they're gonna. Matt Reeves said he was more so there. Like I think it could have been any villain that he could have been any villain that was in Arkham, but he put Joker in there to give Riddler that like reassurance that yo, you fucked up, right? But you can always make that comeback story. You can hit that.
Yeah, but you didn't need the Joker for that. That's my point.
No, I know. Right? I'm not disagreeing, but that's why he wanted Joker in that scene.
And the other
could have been any villain. Arkham probably could have been Bane or Mr. Freeze.
It could have been the Mad Hatter. It could have been anybody.
Right.
And the other thing was,
I would have been more excited for anyone else, like any other character. Like,
and the other thing was, after he did the riddle and he said the answer was friend, I swear to God, I expected him to start singing "You Got a Friend in Me."
It just doesn't seem very. It doesn't seem very Joker-like.
And if he had sung that line, I would have gone, "This is a Joker I want to watch." But it was just that dumbass laugh, and it was like, "Ha ha ha! I'm here, everybody! Look, I'm in this movie. I might be."
Yeah, I mean, he does look disfigured. I mean, but
it's. Yeah, Hugo Strange kind of.
Hugo Strange would have been good if he came, to the cell and was like, said some shit. I don't know. All right. So, it seems we're all here not big fans of Barry Keoghan, but are we big fans of the Riddler?
Joker from the Dark Knight is superior. I already know what you're gonna say. He's still superior.
Okay, so I've been having a lot of debate going on in my mind. I was almost gonna do a Hot Takes Tuesdays on this.
I was wondering when you're gonna do this one.
Who is better? Does he reach to those levels where it could even be an argument that?
I mean, he's another great. To me, he's another great villain in one of these many Batman movies that we have so far. I liked him. He was good. But
you already know
Joker is still superior. Like yesterday, people were trying to compare the interrogation scenes, right? And she was trying to compare the interrogation scenes. I was like, it's no contest. The Dark Knight trilogy one is far superior.
Yes.
I don't know that it is.
Heath Ledger acts circles around him. I cannot completely buy some of the things that Paul Dano is doing in that moment.
Okay.
Like his freak out to me just seems like an actor acting like he's freaking out. Like I don't believe that he's actually freaking out.
Yeah.
Like I think that everything he does up until he starts, like when he realizes that him and Batman aren't partners, like it gets really cringy in that moment. And it just seems like really just like no, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel real to me. It feels like just an actor pretending like he's freaking out. And for me, like it just brings him down. Like Heath Ledger's performance, like doesn't miss a beat anywhere along the way. And I've even said that I like Scarecrow more than I like the Riddler.
Nah, you're capping. You're
No, I'm
capping.
not. I'm
No,
not
no,
capping.
no.
No, I'm not capping. I
I've
do.
got an answer to all of this. I've got an answer to all of this. I would agree with you because the first time I saw it, I was like, "What are you doing right
His
now,
acting really
bro?
doesn't
Like
change.
right here." And I was just like, I'm not getting this." But then I was thinking, look, this is Paul Dano. This is the guy who stood up to, Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis, greatest actor in the world, doing the greatest performance of his life. And Paul Dano was in there, and yeah, and he was also getting his back broken by by Jake Gyllenhaal. But I'm like, this is the guy. This is the guy who was in that movie with the greatest actor in the world doing the greatest performance he's ever done, and still stood out in that movie. And
but he's not doing that great performance here, though.
No. But I was like, maybe I'm gonna just try and think about this and like give him another chance. And when I did give him another chance and watched this movie again and saw what he was doing with this performance, every single note of this performance is calculated. It's purposeful. And
so he's putting on in that moment
kind of meaning.
So the Riddler is putting on. I don't think that's it's either a put on or it's a bad acting performance. No, either he's putting on, in my opinion, because I on a rewatch, I'm still going to think it's a shitty acting moment.
Okay, well,
that's all I'm saying.
Give it a rewatch. Give it a rewatch.
I've seen people freak out, and look, sometimes there's people who freak out, right?
No,
and they freak out just to freak out. It's like someone who's in a store and they pretend to be hurt. Talking about my neck, my back. Give me money. That's how I feel like with Paul Dano Riddler in that.
Well, then he's putting on. Then it's a put on.
No. I'm not saying he's. It feels like it doesn't feel like a true freak out that he was doing to me. Like
it wasn't authentic.
Yeah, it felt a little forced. But
yes.
everything Riddler was doing up until that, I liked it.
But
after that as well. But look, here's my thing. Here's what I'm trying to say. Like,
but I understood why he would freak out because Riddler would do that based off things.
The thing that gave me the key to his the thing that gave me a key to his performance is that he is putting on this Riddler act. He says, that in The Mask, I get to be who I really am, right? Like that's what he says to Batman. He relates to Batman on that. Like in The Mask, you get to be who you really are. So all of the performance up until the point where
that's the put on.
Wait. It is all the put on. All of that performance up until the point where he's just like talking to his followers on I don't know. It wasn't YouTube, but it was on some private network.
Yeah,
like where he was talking to his followers. All of it. That was the real Riddler. That moment. That was the real character. The beta male, like kind of sociopathic. He's not like, as I said, he's not like the Joker from The Dark Knight who can command. He's like an alpha male who can command so much that he can walk into a room of gangsters and like completely like have one up on them. That is not his Paul Dano.
I get that, but what I'm saying is he realizes in that moment it's not believable.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
When his plan falls apart and he realizes the Batman's not on his side,
right?
And he breaks down. I don't believe the breakdown. I get all of that.
I believe it to the extent that he's finding different. I don't know how to put it, but like he's finding different tones or different. Like, there's not one point in this movie where he uses his voice. He uses his voice always in a different way, at a different pitch, at every single moment. And like, even when it comes up to this moment where he starts Bruce Wayne, like all of that kind of stuff. It's so performative, like, right? And yes, you're right. At that moment, he is literally supposed to be freaking out, like, no, because this is the person that he's a fanboy of. That's what the thing is. Well, he's a fanboy who wants to be like famous, like the Batman. He wants to make the same impact as the Batman, and he wants to be part of the legacy of this Batman, because inside he's a nothing. He's an insecure. He's a school shooter. He's like a school shooter ramped up to like a, tenfold. And that's who he really is. And that's why I think he's a much more complicated and realistic villain than even the Joker is in TDK.
I'll say this. You're not wrong.
I would say he's real.
Between the two.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely.
That's the difference between the two, and I think is at that point is down to preference of what type of villain do you want? Do you want that type of that confident villain like Joker that will go into a room with a bunch of gangsters and do all that, or do you want this type of villain that who's a recluse? He's a beta male. He's going to do his tactics of how he's going to do what he's going to do is going to be far different from Joker. Like Joker's like Bane. They don't do sneaky shit like Riddler do. I mean, Joker does sneaky shit, but he's more he's not a pussy like Riddler. There's levels to this villain shit.
Because he's like, I'm not even physical like you, Batman. Like,
that's a lie.
That's why I needed you. That's why you were.
Absolute lie.
And see, I like all of that.
What's the lie?
And it's not
what's
even.
The lie?
That he's not physical. That was such a bullshit line.
He's not.
Like, really? Because he goes after the mayor and beats him up. He goes after the commissioner, captures him and beats him up. Goes after the DA, captures him and beats him up. But that's all physical. He is literally getting his hands dirty. He is actually doing the physical.
Yeah, but he couldn't infiltrate.
He's beating them up and he's capturing them.
No, but you have to look at how he did. You have to look at how he's doing it.
The things that Batman was infiltrating, he couldn't infiltrate.
He couldn't get
Iceberg Lounge.
Really, he can't infiltrate. Let me see. Hold on. Wait a minute. He sneaks into the mayor's house. He can't infiltrate. He breaks into the car in the security system. He can't break. Come on,
Jaded.
How did he capture the commissioner?
He broke into a regular house. Carmine is literally inside of a fortress, inside the iceberg.
Yeah. But again, this is a guy who's an accountant, and somehow this is a guy who's an accountant and broke into the mayor's house. What did he do? Just open the door and walk in?
Yeah, I mean,
no, but
you actually think the Riddler opened the door and walked in?
Jada, we don't know how he got the mayor. No. Oh, wait, the mayor. No. Yeah, he snuck in. He snuck in through the. He snuck in.
So he has infiltrated the room.
All right, I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to shut you down right now.
Jaded.
Do you remember?
He's physical in a way of he's that person. He's not going to run up on you and go hand to hand. He's going to run. He's going to run, find some rocks, and then throw the rocks at you.
No, he doesn't. He bludgeoned. He doesn't throw rocks. He choked the DA. He bludgeoned. No. Okay, He's not that. You're just pretending that you're ignoring everything that he does in the movie. And you go, no, he's something else.
He does some physical stuff, but he does it in a coward's way.
No, he does. It doesn't matter. He is hands-on and
use
physical.
Brute force is the point.
Of course he uses brute force. He bludgeons the mayor. He chokes the DA.
After he sneaks in, what I'm saying, he doesn't use brute force to capture him. Like, he's there in the shadows. He sneaks up on him. He catches him off guard.
So he has infiltration skills, and he's physical.
So could he have gone?
JD, are you trying to say? Wait, like Batman infiltrated that club.
Right, exactly.
Of course, it's not the same way. No, hold on. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying he did it the same way.
How could he have got to Falcone? How could he have got to Falcone? Remember, Falcone.
How could he have got to Falcone?
Remember, Jaded. Remember at the funeral, what Falcone said to Bruce Wayne? He says, "Oh, you're the only guy in the city who's less reclusive than me. Like, this funeral has brought you out." How would he have got to Falcone without using the Batman?
Because Falcone, he lives. Does he live in the Heist house?
Yeah, he stays there most of the time.
But
Yeah.
why? How do we know?
Because that's where Batman.
That's what he just said.
That's
He
where
said,
Batman
I'm
and Catwoman
reclusive.
went
I'm the
kill him at
only
Iceberg
person in the
Lounge.
city more reclusive, or you're the only person in the city more reclusive than me, Bruce Wayne. Meaning he
I see
doesn't
what
go
you mean.
out
Okay.
that much.
Okay, so what's
He
the
stays
point?
in that fortress.
The
So
point
what's
there
is,
was
he
no.
knows
I
he gets
So
said-
the
Carmine.
Riddler was trying to get Batman to bring him out into the light. Plus, he
But
wants
what's that got to do with him, whether or not he's physical or not?
Plus, he
That's a
wants to
different
be-
argument. I was arguing whether or not
we're telling you how he does his physical stuff.
Doesn't matter. It's
He's
still
not upfront
physical.
about his stuff.
And you can,
You're
and
just
you
arguing
can, and
over
you
nothing.
can
You're
water
Jaded,
it down
literally
all
let me
you
ask you a
arguing
want.
over
question.
nothing.
Jaded, let me ask
He's
you a question.
still
Let me ask you a
physical.
question.
That's why I stopped.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
At the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
where Batman fought those thugs, just straight up fought him. He walked upstairs. Would
Okay.
Riddler do that to anybody?
No. What's your
Okay.
point? What's your point?
The point is Riddler couldn't do stuff like get the Carmine.
That's it. But that has nothing to do with him being physical. No, stay on point. How is he not physical?
Do physical stuff if he can do it the sneaky way.
And he did both. But he did both. He sneaks into the car. He breaks into the car,
Yes,
sneaks
that's
into
the
the
only way
car,
he can
and
get to
physically
people.
kills them.
He needs to do sneaky shit like that. Just get him.
Great.
You can't just snatch somebody up and get him.
All right.
So,
His ass.
wait a minute. If I walk up to you, no, hang on. If I walk up to you and punch
I want to stay on
if I
point
walk
of
up to you and
Dark
punch
Knight's
you,
Joker
was I
versus
being
Riddler.
physical?
Yeah, you're being physical. Jaded, I'm
That's
not
it.
disagreeing that he's done physical
Discussion's
stuff.
over. Discussion's over.
Jaded, no, because you're not understanding the difference between Riddler and Joker. You're not understanding the
What's the
difference.
point? But I'm not comparing them to anybody. I'm establishing he is
I'm
a
doing
physical
that. That's the whole
villain.
point of this.
Jaded, we don't
We're
disagree that he
comparing-
done physical stuff.
Okay, so can we compare? So then, hold on. Let's compare the Riddler to Bruce Lee.
He does physical things, obviously.
Thank you. That's
He
all I
murders
said.
people,
That's all I
but he
said.
does not do them with brute. Like he doesn't. He does when what he's talking about is he's not a fighter. He's not the person that's going to be able to break into a club to get to.
Okay, but that is nothing
certain people. He's going to use bombs. He's going to sneak up on you. He's going to catch you off guard. But there's some people who have, tight security. The main person, Falcone, is like the ultimate, the person that he was ultimately after, right?
Okay.
He could not get to him without Batman. I think
but
that's the point he was making. No, but I'm saying that when they're saying that's what he says when he says he's not a physical guy. That's what he means. Like he can get to you, but he's got to be sneaky about it, and he's got to catch you off guard. And there's certain and then there's certain people like Falcone. He's got like goons around him. He's got security around him, so it's going to be harder to get to him.
Harder for Riddler compared to someone like Batman, who to
get to the mayor who's at his home by himself, and he's there lurking in the shadows. That's what I'm saying. But obviously, he does physical things, but I'm just saying. But that's not. You're taking it too literal. That's not what he's
what we're even discussing. And so we've got to a point where, like, the point that I'm trying to get to, which is that the reason that I'm I agree with you. I think Heath Ledger's just amazing, and it's hard for me to say like, oh, I think the Riddler is just straight up better or something like that. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, one, like a lot of people are saying online, like, oh, because he's on the video and stuff like that it's just a copy of the Dark Knight, and he's just trying to play the Joker or something. And I'm like, no, this is
Joker
a very distinct. This is a very distinct character. It's a very, very different character, and I feel that he might even be a little bit more nuanced than Batman's Dark Knight villain, who doesn't have a motivation, who just comes out of nowhere. He's chaos. He's more of a comic book villain, Heath Ledger's Joker, which in some ways is better. But like, he's more of a comic book villain. This villain that Matt Reeves created in this Batman He's much more of a sinister villain because it feels like, in some ways, this guy could exist. I don't think he would do this be as elaborate, but like there's certain things that he does in this movie where and certain of his motivation that he's just doing this because he wants to be famous. He's just doing
he's
this
a serial killer. Like they exist.
Yeah.
He's very. I
He's
mean,
not really a serial killer. He's doing it for a reason.
But
no.
But
in the end,
well, then
killers have reasons what they're
is
doing.
it?
They may not
What
be
is
what you.
not a serial killer? What's the other term that I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Mass
killer.
Not
mass shooter. There's another. Yeah, there is something. It's not
spree killers, mass shooters.
Spree killer.
Oh, no,
Spree
he's
killer. Yes, he's
target.
maybe more of a spree killer, right?
But
he has a motive. Yes, spree killers like have motives. Like they
sometimes, they do.
A lot of them do. Like,
but sometimes serial killers do as well. I mean,
they have their manifesto.
They have motives
too.
We just don't accept them as good motives for what they're doing. But they have motives.
He's more like a cross between Zodiac and say like the I was going to say Zodiac and the Unabomber. Like there's elements of Zodiac, there's elements of the Unabomber.
He specifically targeted people to kill them and expose them. There was that's what he was doing.
Yeah, but that's what Unabomber was bombing these places because he was saying like like this technology is taking over the world and whatever. He had a motive. He had like a huge manifesto, like to.
Yeah, but that's not what the
Riddler
Riddler
I'm saying that he had. Just like the Riddler, he had a motive for why he was bombing these places. I know some of you probably don't know who Ted. Do all of you know Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but he bombed the marathon.
No, he didn't. He did that. You're thinking of a different bomber.
This Riddler specifically went after these individual 3 people, and then wanted to expose them to Gotham.
Yeah.
But that's not why he was doing it in the end. That's the thing you're missing. He didn't give a shit about exposing people in the end. What he really gave a shit about was that he wanted to be known. He wanted, just like Bruce Wayne, when he was an orphan and nobody cared about him while he was going through all of this suffering. Right. And when Thomas Wayne died, like the choir that he was in that was going to get funded, they just forgot about them when Thomas Wayne died. And, all people cared about was Bruce Wayne. So he wanted to be
about him. Wait a minute. They didn't forget about him. That fund got ransacked.
No, they forgot about them. But anyway, my point was that's what he was saying, that they no longer cared about this choir and they just lived in this orphanage afterwards. But the thing that he was trying to do,
like 30 kids to a room and stuff, and living in an environment like that.
In his own,
but living in an environment like that, it's like, they got a home, but it's not on the home they want. They're literally sleeping next to Bruce Wayne's bedroom.
Okay,
they're not sleeping next to Bruce Wayne's bedroom. They were in an orphanage that was
no. But the orphan they was at was Wayne Manor.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I thought that it was
weird.
That's why he lives in a tower now, because they gave up the manor for the orphan.
Yeah, it became.
But in Riddler's effed up head, he doesn't think Bruce is a true orphan. Because in Riddler's head, he thinks orphans they suffer. We're that's what he thinks. But he doesn't think Bruce is a true orphan, how orphans should be. What Riddler thinks orphans are is what he went
30
through.
kids to a room.
30 kids in a room, getting bullied and stuff.
Okay, but I understand the point.
But what I'm saying is that
he's jealous of what Bruce Wayne had as an orphan.
Yeah, he's jealous of that, and he's become fixated. And he was
the celebrity orphan. Gotham felt sorry for him, and
everybody forgot about
here he is. This orphan that lived in this room with all these kids, and nobody cared about him or any of them.
What's that got to do with the point
so
we're trying
he
to
wants?
I'm done. I can't help you.
He wants that notoriety that Bruce Wayne had. Like during that's what he got fixated on, and he wants that notoriety as an orphan. And like many mass killers, the reason they end up doing their killings is because they want to be known. That's it. They basically they can't think of any other way of becoming famous, like becoming successful in some other kind of way, or they're not capable of it. So what they do is they go out and they shoot a bunch of people, or they kill a bunch of people, so that they could become famous. That's why a lot of mass killers do
that. But that has nothing to do with this character in this movie. This character in this movie. How? This character, you're basically saying his main motivation was to flood the city. That was his end goal. His main goal was to flood the city.
But his motive for doing that was he wanted to become famous. He wanted to be known. He wanted to be seen.
Okay, I'm not challenging that, but I'm saying then why kill the three? But if that's his only motivation, then why kill the commissioner, the DA?
Because you've got to have a movie, and you've got to have a movie and a story and blah blah blah. He's trying to uncover the corruption. He's trying to show, no.
But like, there's multiple motives to what he's doing. It's not just one specific thing. It's the time.
I know it isn't. That's what I'm saying.
Corruption too. He has.
That's what I'm saying. I'm challenging him. I'm saying that he wanted to do that. He wanted to expose the corruption. And Nerdman is watering it down. I'm going, no. He wanted to do.
I'm saying
he's just saying that's not the only thing.
I'm saying his main motive, like that was a secondary motive. That was the secondary motive to get to the first. So essentially, the two things that he really wants to do is he wants to muddy the Wayne name, right? Because he's angry at the Waynes. He's angry like that when Thomas Wayne died, he just was forgotten, and he's angry that Bruce Wayne was, the whole city felt sorry for him, and he was on the news, but nobody.
And the renewal, don't forget the renewal project.
Right, the renewal project.
It
was connected to that, and so that was the one thing that he was trying to uncover the city's corruption, and and that was the narrative he was telling, leading to uncovering Thomas Wayne, and therefore he could go after Bruce Wayne. But the secondary thing is that, like Batman, he'd been inspired by this Batman character, and he was like, "Oh, this is a way I can become known. This is a way that I can be seen."
No. That's not a fair interpretation. His interpretation, it was, I'm going to do it the way you did it. Controlled, violent bursts of violence. And that's what he was inspired by. He was inspired by Batman solving the problem by controlled outbursts of violence. And so he goes, "Oh, I'll do that too. I'm going to use controlled outbursts of violence to take out the corruption. I'm going to use controlled outbursts of violence to cleanse the city and sweep it." That was the interpretation I got. That and that was his inspiration by Batman.
But unlike Batman, who's actually doing it in a way where he doesn't care about the notoriety. Like Batman's hiding behind a thing. He doesn't.
Well, in a way, kind of.
He doesn't want people to know.
Fear, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't want people to know he's Bruce Wayne. This guy wanted to be known. Like he wanted to be unmasked.
Yeah, that's why
he literally planned on being caught.
Right. So that his name will go down in history. I'm the great Riddler who held the city hostage and killed all these people. And so that's what I'm saying. And that's where I think it is kind of realistic to actual serial killers or actual mass shooters, more mass shooters than serial killers, like mass shooters especially. That's one of the things they always do. They always are like, "Oh, once I've done this, the world is going to know me. Everyone's going to know my name," and etc. So that's what I find so compelling, that there's all these levels to his motivation, which I don't think there is with the Joker. The Joker's just like, I want to cause chaos. And that's why I think in some ways he's a better villain. So
No,
that's
no,
what I
whoa,
wanted
whoa,
to
Nerd
discuss.
Man, we have to
That's not
remember.
fair
He's
though,
trying.
Nerd Man, because the Joker said he wanted to corrupt Harvey Dent. Like there was that motivation as well. And he
And-
wanted to expose Batman and make him realize that him and that the Batman and him are the same are the same sides of opposite sides of the same coin. So he did also have motivations as well. It wasn't just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he's
Okay.
trying to prove.
I mean, it wasn't as big as the Riddler, but they were there.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
Doc, go
also
on.
he was trying to prove a point that because Gotham was like gassing up Harvey Dent in the Batman and all these people, and Joker in a way, he was just trying to prove a point that I can take someone like Harvey Dent, this so-called hero, this white knight, I can bring him down to my level because he ain't no different than me or anybody else. I can I can corrupt.
But how was he
absolute
going to
good.
do that if Harvey Dent blew up in that?
Well, no,
place?
because at
Like,
first
he couldn't have known that Harvey Dent's face.
no,
was gonna
that's
get
why
half
the
burned.
boat. That's why the situation with the boats. That was his first plan. But Harvey Dent, he didn't really know that Harvey Dent was going to be his backup, but he had Harvey Dent as a backup. If Harvey Dent did die, if all Joker would have had to rely on was that boat situation. If the people on the boat did not kill each other, then Joker would have lost. His point would have never been proven.
Yeah. But also, Joker told him that Rachel is where Harvey Dent is, and Harvey Dent is where Rachel is.
Yeah, and he gave him the wrong address.
So I guess he
lied.
He thought, so I guess he thought that Harvey Dent would have been so fucked up in the head by like Rachel dying that maybe he would have turned to the dark.
Plus, he also had them so that they could communicate with each other, so that they were.
Ashley just done.
Yeah. Ashley, has Jaded killed your spirit in life?
Like slightly, like I'm just.
Then my job is done. Then my job
is listening right now because it's like.
Yeah.
All I can say is the Joker is better than the Riddler.
Oh, really? You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I do prefer Joker more because the way you break it down, Nerd.
Heath Ledger was more compelling as a Joker, and all the instances all the interactions that he had with Batman were more compelling. It was more chaotic, more wild,
more intense.
He was more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Than Riddler. Like Riddler was methodical. Riddler is a methodical character. Like the way he was doing, like killing people. Yeah, he was methodical. He was twisted. He's a sociopath.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I would say that the Joker was.
K-Dots, go on. What were you saying? You were saying
especially like
because
I say how intense it gets. The scene where Batman is contemplating running this fool over, and Joker's like, hit me, and then Batman at the last minute crashes on purpose so he doesn't hit Joker. Like, it gets intense. It's like he's really trying to break this man. Like the interrogation scene, he literally had Batman lose control in front of all those police officers I was watching, and Gordon had to run in there because like, oh, I think he lost control. Batman lost it. He snapped. He's about to do it. He's gonna kill this guy. He lost it.
But honestly, I'm going to be honest. I like the interrogation in the Batman more because I love that moment where Bruce is just like, the jig is up. He knows who I am. He's going to fucking expose me. And he's going, Bruce. And then you figure out slowly. And then the penny drops when he goes, Bruce Wayne's the only one we didn't get. And then you figure out, no, this is just a Batman fanboy. I love that. The flow of that scene is just so much more interesting to me, even though I will say Heath Ledger's performance is fucking incredible. It's just captivating. It's pitch perfect. Whereas Paul Dano, as you said, I think even though I love his performance, I don't know it's pitch perfect in the way that Heath Ledger's was.
In the interrogation scene between Batman and the Riddler, when Riddler is trying to go Bruce, and he's trying to reveal it, that wasn't what got me. It's when the movie shows Batman glance at the camera.
Yes, that's
right. It wasn't the fact that the Riddler knew he was Batman. It's like, holy shit! If he actually says it, but people they're gonna know.
Yeah.
So he was more. For me, okay, he was more freaked out that if they. And I'm thinking. In my head, I was going, is he trying to figure out how to disable the camera? Do I destroy the camera? Do I do something like that? Was more intense for me. That's what he was more scared of than because if it was just him and him by himself, and he just said, "Oh, I know you're Batman," or "I know you're Bruce Wayne," I don't think he would have been as concerned.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying.
I think Robert Pattinson sells it the most.
Yeah, that look, because Widow keeps saying about his eyes and stuff like that, and when he did that 1-2 second look at that camera, you could see like the sheer panic in his eyes. So I thought that was my favorite part. And
I honestly think you're downplaying what Dano does there, because even before
we're not down.
Before he freaks out, the whole speech is fantastic.
But I'm just saying, yeah, it's great, it's good, but it's not. But what Robert Pattinson is doing outshines him, is what I'm saying.
Well, we'll see on a second viewing. I will have that conversation with you on the second viewing. So our last thing. So everyone believes Heath Ledger's was still better than the Riddler.
Heath Ledger's performance, his performance as Joker was a much better performance than.
Yes,
I would say that the Joker had his pros and his cons, and the Riddler had his pros and his cons. So I couldn't say that one was better than the other. It was just
so they're equal to you.
Yeah, they're two different people, so I wouldn't even.
That's respectable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Now, if he was comparing Bane to Joker,
that's different. No,
they're more alongside the same type of people.
No, that's easy. It's still Joker. That's easier for me than this. But Widow, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, I just wanted to go back to your point where the people that are saying that the Riddler is just basically Heath Ledger's Joker, like I don't see that at all. I think they're so different that I just wanted to make that statement. Like I don't see any similarities between the two of them, other than they both have this obsession with the Batman. Other than that, and one is more in a way to corrupt. Yeah, exactly. That was my next point. One is because he thinks that that they're on the same side, and the other one is about corrupting him. That's and it's still not the same, but I mean that's the closest you can get to a similarity between the two characters. Like they're so different from night and day. Like the Joker is in your face, loud, aggressive, chaotic, and Paul Dano, his Riddler is methodical, quiet, and takes his time and is very precise with everything that he does.
But unhinged as well, though.
They're both
unhinged. What I like. No, but you expect Joker to go crazy, whereas this one is like he goes from 0 to 100 really quickly. But also, he's kind of like he's a dweeb. He's a nerd as well. That's what I like.
Definitely a nerd. I love the nerd quality of him. I think that I love that. I was not shocked that he was a nerdy guy going into the movie. Like I expected him to be, this nerdy guy, and he does a lot of it well. It's just that one spot, and I'm gonna say it's a nitpick, really, because outside of that, everything else works.
I think it's top notch, everything else. But because I didn't understand that you didn't like him. And this is just my final word, and then I'll let you say, Jaded, and then we have to go. But I will say that my favorite scene between these two characters, honestly, and maybe I have to watch The Dark Knight again, but still my favorite scene between these two characters is just when Paul Dano is speaking to his 500 followers, and he just comes up and he's like, "Hi guys, You know, like, and he's just become this normal dweeby dude, and you're just like, what was
Yeah, but
all of
in
the
about 10
menace,
seconds, he
all
gets,
of the men.
I'm just saying
Sorry,
that 10 seconds later, he goes really intense, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, he started nice, but he literally built himself up into a frenzy, though.
Right, exactly. So this is the unhinged part of him, but like that thing where you see finally, like, no, this is just some normal, like, fucking. I guys, oh, thanks for the advice on the on the charges or whatever, you know. And it's just he's just some normal dweeb, and I just
and he's like, you're not going to
it.
see me for a while.
Yeah, and the pigs got me and stuff. And I just, that bit of it, I just absolutely
I did like that.
love.
I really did like that. Like his message to his, at first you don't really understand what the community is about, at first. And like, he's like talking to them, and he's, even though it's like, he's such a bad guy, right? Through the whole movie, but he's like being like sincere, and it's almost like, oh, you feel sorry for him. And he has like people that he's connected to, even though he's just like going around killing people. Like, it's just like kind of like this authentic moment for him, because he has people that he is connected to,
Right.
even though, so I did like that. I really did like that.
Yeah, Jaded, finish this off.
I was just saying, I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair to compare the Riddler with the Joker just because he's crazy. Because there's a bunch of Batman villains. You got the Mad Hatter. You got Two-Face. So if they show Mad Hatter, are you gonna and Mad Hatter's crazy? Is everybody gonna go, oh well, he's a Joker ripoff? Well, no, he's a different type of crazy. That's part of Batman's.
Some people are dumb, that.
Yeah. I think it's unfair to say that he's a Joker ripoff because he's just a different type of crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to be fair, that's why I didn't make this a Hot Takes Tuesdays episode where I was like, I think the Riddler's better, because I couldn't say that in good conscience and just be like, yeah, like he's straight up better.
I thought you were about to say that though.
No, I just wanted to have the discussion because I love the performance so much. For me, he's my favorite thing in the movie. I know you like Patterson and people like the Penguin, but I just love the development. And it's not just him, but it's the writing as well, with the riddles and how it uncovers, but how how he plays into the mystery of this character. I just think it's pitch perfect. He gives just those little hints that he's not really this dominant guy. Like, there's just these little hints in between, and the little messages that he's sending, like the little hints that he gives to Batman that, I've been trying to reach you, like you, and you think that he's saying that as like, as an, when you first watch it, as a taunt or as an adversary to Batman, but in fact he really means, like, he thinks they're friends, and
he thinks that they're partners.
Yeah, he's deluded. He thinks they're like, I love that in his performance. Like, when you watch it again, you just see every single beat of that. Like, oh shit, no, that's why he's doing that.
Maybe I'll have a different feeling next when I watch it again.
I hope you do, but maybe not. Who knows?
I mean, I don't. I'd like him though, so it's just that one moment. I don't like.
I think the most defining scene for me with the Riddler was when he was in the cafe and he was captured, and he looks at Batman and smiles because he goes, you didn't catch me. I let myself get caught because I have a reason to be caught. Yeah, and it's like, oh, Batman, you're here. That him looking at Batman and smiling with his absolute confidence.
I did too. I love the great.
Where he was like,
I just didn't see him as a beta
like
male.
The thing he did with his mouth there, I just was like, and then he smiles at the Batman like, hey, friend. But I think Andrea wanted to say something. He just unmuted. What did you want to say there, Andrea?
Oh no, I was muting because like there was cars passing by, but no, that was like, but no, that scene though, when he was getting captured, I also liked when he was actually doing those three riddles when the guy had the bomb around his neck, like he was joking, being evil, and twisted right there. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And I did like the cafe scene because it explained it actually explained that
was a
question
good
mark
scene.
in his coffee. Because he's the one that made the question mark because he had that thing in his hand.
Yeah.
And then when the cops show up, he takes it and puts it away. And I'm going, oh, okay. Now I at least know why there was that damn question mark in his coffee.
And he said, like, I ordered a pumpkin pie. He was like, I ordered pumpkin pie.
I ordered pumpkin pie. That was great. I mean, that scene was very comparable to almost anything Heath Ledger did in TDK.
See?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Jaded kind of liked it in a way.
Oh no, there are aspects of it that I like.
I'm just saying I just love when you say good things.
Yep. All right, guys. I think we're gonna call it a day with that. But yeah, that was my spoiler discussion plus Riddler versus Joker, better villain. It seems like we've established, for the most part, that the Joker is still the GOAT. But I really do love this Riddler character, and he got better to me the more I watched him. So I just wanted to have that discussion with you guys. Apart from that, please, I think everyone's subscribed to the Widow, but I know, like, what are you doing this? You want to know, like, what?
Yeah,
I might be on this as well.
Well, tomorrow evening, I'll be on K-Dot's channel. We'll be doing Takeover episode 3. We'll be talking about the Batman and hopefully some news. It's been a slow news for pop culture, but hopefully we'll find another topic. Hopefully Nerdman can make it. I host it with Rhea. We'll be doing that at 11:05 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. And also tonight, I got some juicy news for the world. I'm going to be over hanging out with Miss Saggy Melons. Telling the story. So that'll happen, and I might be honing
That's
my
gonna
Max.
be a good stream to be watching.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so juicy, all the juicy bits. You're gonna get it all.
So you'll be
send me not a link, but like the YouTube so I can watch it.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And Jaded, obviously, I'm gonna do either tomorrow or at least maybe not tomorrow, maybe the day after. I'm gonna do a reaction to the Super Pets trailer. It's gonna be a short one, but I actually really like it. Yeah, there's a new Super Pets one.
I gotta do it.
Batman.
Man, I gotta make a video on that.
Yeah,
and I'm making videos, guys.
Pretty good.
So I'm doing that too.
Yeah. So Jaded has done a Batman review. That was his latest one.
I did a rant. I did a rant of the movie, and I'm going to be doing a tearing apart the Batman movie video soon.
Okay.
I'm sure Ashley will be so thrilled to watch.
And Andrea, you can find him in my dreams.
Yep. The ankle biter himself, Birds of Prey fanboy, Andrea.
I call Ashley ankle biter.
I'm the ankle biter.
I haven't seen you in a long time, Andrea. Thanks for coming on, man. It's been nice having you as well. But yeah, apart from that, guys, like, comment. I love the comments. I usually respond, or I kind of always respond to the comments for the most part. So do tell me what you thought of the Batman. Whether you think Joker and Riddler are even comparable, or who you like better. And yeah, apart from that, like, subscribe, share. There's one more thing.
Subscribe to this Nerdman. If you're watching the replay and you're not subscribed to Hot Takes Tuesday, make sure you like, share, comment, and make sure you have your notifications turned on so you don't forget when he drops a crazy video stream, whatever he's going to do, and give you some crazy takes.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Nerdman.
There you go.
Let's get those numbers up for this dope man over here.
All right. So apart from that, gonna see you on the flip side, and of course, love you 3000. Peace.